Disclaimer. I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Title: One Piece, Adopting Doflamingo. Chapter 81 Nephew Long, Long Time No See. Chapter 81 Nephew Long, Long Time No See. Crow, light the fire. Crow, cook. Crow, boil the water. Crow. Crow. Crow, crow. Crow took the trouble to repeat the other party's instructions one by one. Without him. Can't beat. Even if he has a superb IQ and is good at using tricks, Crow can only do physical work in front of this man. Kellua wiped his sweat, obediently completed all the preparations, and waited by the side without daring to make a sound. He could only plan to watch the man in front of him take the fruits of his labor. Adri glanced at the food made by Crow, and then at Crow, who was standing aside. Adri didn't do anything but gestured to Crow. "You, come and eat together." Crow was a little surprised that the imposing adult in front of him actually allowed him to have dinner. To be honest, as a prisoner, Crow is ready to be tortured, but what kind of trouble is this, which makes Crow's heart sink a little bit? Uncertainty is the most worrying thing, and Crow hates behaviors that he can't figure out the most. Crow was still a little uncertain. When he saw Adri's eyes again and confirmed it, he leaned up cautiously, not daring to move at all. As Adri said, "Eat." Crow just tiptoedly took the smallest piece of fruit and stuffed it into his mouth, and ate it in small bites. In a sense, Crow also had a gentlemanly demeanor. Adrian didn't care about Crow's restraint, but snapped his fingers. Then a set of luxuriously decorated tables and chairs appeared in front of him, and there were 2 sets of tableware on the table. Adri took a seat and gestured to Crow. Crow was also a little surprised. "To be honest, I was surprised enough today that he has become numb with surprise. Please finish him quickly." But Chloe had already taken this meal as his own dying meal. Crow sighed, and walked across from Adri, watching Adrian's elegant movements. This damn elegance made Crow couldn't help but step forward to pour red wine for the other party. Crow took a few bites of the steak on the plate tentatively. Good guy, Crow is a little angry. The other party clearly has this ability but still tells him to do that. "Are you angry?" Crow didn't vent his anger on the steak viciously, but chatted with Adri like a normal conversation. "Won't you waste my food like this?" Adri wiped his mouth gently with a napkin, looked at Crow indifferently, and said slowly, "For supper." Crow didn't make a sound, but also enjoyed the steak in front of him. Even if it is the last meal, it has to be decent. When he was eating, he also thought about it seriously. Before, he thought too much. There is no benefit for such a strong man to support him. If he wanted to kill him, he would have killed him long ago, which means that he is useful. After eating, Crow took a deep breath and asked, "May I ask if you have taken a fancy to my scheme?" Adri didn't speak but gestured to continue, which made Crow feel relieved a lot. "I still know my talent. If I'm not mistaken, does an adult like you need an adjutant with excellent intelligence? I still want to be a pirate." Adri then cut the steak indifferently, nodding and shaking his head first. Crow had some guesses in his mind. "That's right, even an adult like you wouldn't worry about it, I'm a pirate." Crow has something to say. Adri knew, and he put down the knife. "I'm looking for you because I need you to be my housekeeper. I know what you are after, I can give it to you, and even improve your strength, but the price is to be a good person by my side." "I understand." Crow's heart tightened. He always felt a chill coming towards him. Maybe the person in front of him didn't care about betrayal at all, maybe he never allowed betrayal at all, and there would be no betrayal around him, because betrayal is always around him. It was resolved before it appeared. Crow looked at the opposite man nervously. That's right, the first time he saw this man, he had the feeling that the other party might also regard betrayal as a child's play. Crow sat in fear. At this moment, he lost his calmness before, but was a little restless. Because it seemed more terrifying than killing him. "You should not be from this sea area." Crow was a little uncertain. He didn't like to provoke the other party for no reason. It is the best policy to be cautious. Adri nodded generously. I come from the Great Route. Great, air route? Crow's eyes were a little blurred. As a pirate, he certainly knew it. Then, next, let me talk to you about the topic. A few days later. Rogue Town. A man wearing a cloak looked at the person in front of him vigilantly. Two people deliberately blocked his way. As a revolutionary army, the other party did it on purpose, which meant that they might be people who knew their identities. But wearing a cloak in this kind of place makes it look more colorful. When he saw the face of the visitor, the man in the cloak was relieved, but he was still on guard. Long time no see, nephew Long. Long sighed and responded. Uncle Adri, long time no see. What's the purpose of your visit? Uncle? Kuluo was shocked. It seemed that the current boss of his family looked quite old, and even this middle-aged man whose face looked like he had been slapped by a shoe called him uncle. Impossible, their boss is an immortal monster, right? Hee hee, how is it possible, right? Yes, maybe roughly? Crow shook his head, discarding some abnormal thoughts. Long also noticed Crow behind Adri. This is new recruit, I'm here to see Luffy. Uncle Adri, you are still the same, always so dangerous. Adri laughed. You kid, you always love to joke. But Crow understood that the other party didn't mean to be joking, but he didn't deny it either. By the way, Long, are you also here to see your son? It can be said that, but why didn't I know that you knew my son? Long asked. Oh, it's not that you don't know, I like children, and I've known your little ones before. Really, I thought you were sent by the old man again. Garp? No, that bastard can't send me, but you, the recent moves are quite big. What, do you want to meet Luffy together? No. Long resolutely refused. Even if he met, Luffy would not recognize his biological father. Come on, never met him at all. Crow couldn't say anything, just lowered his head deeply. It seemed that someone recognized the dragon's face. Adri didn't say much, and said goodbye to Long soon. Turning to look at Crow, with a dangerous smile. Crow, you are very smart. Crow didn't speak, but a drop of cold sweat flowed down. Adri didn't care, raised his feather coat, and turned around. Come on, Chloe. Crow followed closely behind, bent over, and said respectfully, yes. The articles in the next 10 chapters are not very good, everyone can read it. End of this chapter. Chapter 82 Tell him personally. Chapter 82 Tell him personally. I'm the man who wants to be the Pirate King. Luffy, who was imprisoned on the execution platform, declared loudly. The expressions of the people below all changed. Zoro and Sanji also came to save Luffy. But distant water cannot save near fire. Bucky's blade had fallen. I am dying, Luffy said with a smile. In a dark place, Adri looked at the people on the execution platform, and even he couldn't help feeling that even Adri couldn't help admiring people who could see so clearly before death. In this intricate world, how many people admire and praise being able to face death with a smile, and Luffy is just such a person. His smile was like that of Rogers before he was executed, bright and crisp, as if he took life and death lightly. Suddenly thunder and lightning roared, and a beam of lightning fell from the sky, breaking the execution platform. Luffy got up from the ruins, put on the straw hat again, and laughed loudly. It seems that I can't die. The Straw Hats immediately started their escape. Luffy seemed to see a black figure flashing past while running. Bucky was also chasing after him for a while. The arrival of Navy Smoker made them also have to retreat. Smoker, who originally wanted to trouble Luffy with the straw hat, was blocked by a person at the moment, and that was the dragon. Smoker's eyes became terrified. This is the famous leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long. Smoker unconsciously clenched the cigar in his mouth. But at this moment, someone came out to disturb the situation. Hey, Long, give me face, don't touch this kid. The dragon lowered his cloak. Well, just stop him from moving. Long then retreated immediately. Only Smoker and the one who disturbed the situation were left. Smoker looked at the other party vigilantly, and asked aloud. Are you a Revolutionary Army too? He didn't dare to act rashly. The other party was someone who could give face even to a dragon. Although the opponent looked very young, he was unfathomable. The other party quickly shook his head and denied, I'm not a Revolutionary Army, but an ordinary businessman. TCH, who would believe it? Smoker had raised his weapon, ready to strike. Yo, young people, don't be so angry and bloody, I don't intend to fight with you. Then you get out of the way. I am the Navy and I have to perform official duties. Adri didn't get out of the way, but stood in the direction of Luffy's escape, blocking Smoker's pursuit route. As expected, we still need to fight. Smoker said that he was about to rush forward. I saw Adri not in a hurry. Rosindi, do you know him? Smoker's movements stopped suddenly, but looked at each other with a shocked look, and then became angry again. How do you know this name? Who allowed you to mention this name? Who are you? Smoker's posture, it seems that as long as Adri says a word wrong, he will go up and desperately. Say it, say it. Smoker became emotional. A gentle smiling face of a certain blond man appeared in front of his eyes, and bits and pieces of the past floated before his eyes. Adrian said calmly, Arazanantai told me about you, Smoker. What? Who are you? Smoker has relaxed a little, and is no longer thinking about chasing straw hats. I saw Adri took a step back and performed a standard hat-off ceremony. Please let me introduce myself. Your Majesty, Adrian, the former head of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. And the father of Rosindi. The Straw Hat Gang who successfully boarded the pirate ship. A false alarm. Luffy, don't worry us so much next time. Nami punched Luffy hard with one fist. Luffy immediately had a big bump on his head. I'm so sorry, but I seemed to see an acquaintance just now. Oh? Luffy's acquaintance? Who is it? Everyone was very curious about who the captain knew. Luffy stroked his chin, thinking. I don't know, who is here? Ah. I forgot. Everyone couldn't help laughing and scolding. What's the difference between you saying nothing, hey? Usopp on the side seemed to think of something. By the way, I seem to see a person who looks very similar to Crow. Usopp, don't scare me. Nami said worriedly. Sanji leaned over Crow, who is it? Sauron stepped forward and explained. Stinky Cook, we're talking about the fact that you haven't come yet. Oh what? What did you call me? Bastard. Sauron went straight up. Stinky Cook. You idiot. Sanji also met Zoro's eyes. Ha? Green, algae, head. Okay, stop arguing. Usopp, did you really see who that was? Usopp is a little uncertain now, I'm not sure either. Luffy came up directly and said boldly. Never mind him. Anyway, even if he comes again, I'll beat him up again. Right. How could the other party recover from injury so quickly? Well, maybe I just got the wrong eye. Usopp said so. Maybe. The other side. Smoker still couldn't believe that the young man in front of him was the father of Rosindi at the same time. Smoker didn't believe it until the other party took out the necklace of the same style as Rosindi. After all, everyone knows that Rosindi is very tight about this necklace baby on weekdays. Now, taking out this necklace can only show that the two of them are indeed related. Smoker relaxed a little. What did you come to see me for? Nothing, just that Rosindi always mentioned that there was a boy who smoked cigars. Smoker blushed. In the past, Rosindi also described him in the same way. It doesn't sound good to have the things of his early years revealed. Colonel Smoker. Desiki came, and as Smoker's adjutant, she was able to escape to find Smoker. Smoker temporarily forgot the topic, and turned to look at Desiki. Colonel Smoker, shall we not go after the pirates? Oh, that's right. Then he looked at Adri. If you just said this, please get out of the way, I won't shoot you. Colonel Smoker, who is he? Smoker's eyes were a little dim. He was a contemporaneous family member of mine who was long dead. We are sacrificing Navy families. What a faux pas. Dashiki quickly bowed. Adri didn't pay attention to Dashiki, just nodded slightly, looked at Smoker, and said softly, "Want to speak to Rosindi again?" Smaller's pupils dilated, looking at Adri in disbelief. "Is it a recording?" Adri didn't speak, but looked at Dashiki. Dashiki immediately understood. "Sorry, let me avoid it for a while." After Dashiki left, Smorgon said in a deep voice, "Let me listen to the recording." Adrian motioned for silence. "I think it would be better for you to speak to him yourself. Thanks to Dolly the sheep for the 100-point reward. Thanks to Chow Mawercha for the 100-point reward." End of this chapter. Chapter 83. Ask him if the old man is healthy for me. Chapter 83. Ask him if the old man is healthy for me. Smoker's eyes were full of horror at this moment, and the precious cigars were scattered on the ground. Because Adrian handed him something like a phone bug, and a familiar yet unfamiliar voice came from it. "Moses, this is Rosindi." Smoker hesitated, then said, "This is Captain Smoker. You are a man or a ghost?" At the beginning, Smoker also learned about it in secret. He only knew that Brother Rossi was going to participate in a secret operation. The other side was stunned, hesitated for a while, and sighed slightly. "Smog, it's me, the real me." Listening to the familiar tone, Smoker couldn't help it anymore, trembling uncontrollably. "Brother Rossi, you are not dead." "Yes, I am not dead. It seems that you know that my file in the Navy is dead." "That's right, it was the records of the Marshal of the Warring States period, which showed that you were dead." "Really? That's fine. Anything is fine. Do you know how sad I am?" Smoker said loudly. At this moment, it was as if he was no longer the famous white hunter but the little boy back then, facing his elder brother. "Hey, I'm sorry, Smoker, for worrying you. In fact, I should never see you again, or, in a sense, I should have died." "What do you mean by that? Don't you sound fine now?" Smoker yelled loudly, because Smoker's ferocious face scared away many people passing by the alley. "Smog, listen to me, you can understand that I'm just dying, and the last file left to the Navy is in a state of death. That is to say, I have completely cut off contact with the Navy." "Completely cut off contact?" Smoker was surprised for a moment, and immediately yelled. "Brother Rossi! What do you mean? Are you going to give up the justice we defended together back then?" A long silence followed. "Speak up. Brother Rossi. Answer me." Smoker almost dropped his phone, and he was so angry at the moment, he didn't believe it. "Smog, you should also know that the Navy still needs to rely on the world government." Smoker calmed down, and asked slowly. "What do you mean by that?" "Maybe you'll find out in the future. Sometimes the Navy can't enforce absolute justice. Casualties are inevitable. Many things will be linked to interests. It's your overly stubborn temper that makes you a mere colonel, Smoker." "Forget it, it's rare that we can talk, let's talk about something else. How about Dalmesia?" Adri, who had been listening quietly all this time, calmly took out a cigarette and lit it, and calmly looked at Smoker, who was already chatting with Rosindi about daily life. At this moment, he is a bit bored. Why does he have the feeling of eavesdropping on his son's phone call? To be honest, my son is also 37 years old. Time always flies so fast. Obviously when I brought it back, it was just a little shy crying bag. Now you can become a man in your own right. Adrian exhales smoke and sighs. At this moment, Adrian held his chin and looked at Smoker, who was facing away from him, with interest. It was obvious that they were talking some private words, and they didn't want Adrian to hear them. Adri also walked away a distance wisely. Looking vaguely at Smoker's smile and the sparkle in his eyes, I'm afraid someone would be surprised to see that this iron-blooded tough guy has such a side. Perhaps in front of Rosindi, he will always be just the cigar-smoking kid who needed to be taken care of by Rosindi. "Ah, Smoker, it's really you." Smoker was talking about his previous brilliant deeds. He was forced to downgrade due to various reasons and failed to own a warship of his own. "Okay, Brother Rosindi, why even you laugh at me?" "I didn't laugh at you. It's amazing that you dared to insult your boss like this. It reminds me of the miserable situation when you were beaten up when you resisted teacher Zifa for the first time. Ha 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 ha. Hey, brother Rossi, don't expose my scandal, it's been so long. No way, that incident is too deep. Smoker was a little speechless, why even the always gentle Rosindi started to get a little black belly. By the way, Smoker. The voice on the other side suddenly turned serious. Smoker also stood upright immediately. Yes. Don't tell anyone that I'm still alive. Why, Dalmesia and the others will be very happy to know that you are still alive. Smug. After all, I am a dead person in the file, and the less I know, the better. Then, well, I'll say yes. Smoker suddenly became nervous, and continued with a guilty conscience. That, Brother Rossi, after I found out about your death, I immediately and quietly told other people, so, we erected a monument for you and held a funeral. The tomb of clothes, that's fine, let's say goodbye to the old Rosindi. It's almost done, Smoker, I'm still busy. Wait a minute. Brother Rossi, where are you now? Me? It's okay to tell you. I am the current president of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. If you have any difficulties in the future, please report my name. No need, then, Brother Rossi, take care of yourself first. You take care too. Oh, by the way, what does Brother Rossi's father look like? Haven't you seen it? Isn't this calling device given to you by my father? What? Is that man really your father? Smoker's surprised voice was immediately suppressed by him, and he couldn't help but look back at Adri, who was waving at him not far away. Smoker immediately confirmed in a low voice. Is your father that young? An affirmative tone came from the other end of the phone. Of course, it only looks so young, and the actual age is a bit older. Then this is too young. No, it's just on the surface. Oh, so it's just the surface. What does it mean to be just the surface? Smoker couldn't help taking a peek at Adri once again. The other person's eyes really looked like a junior, and he was also very calm. All aspects were very in line with the breath of a middle-aged man, but the appearance was completely inconsistent. Don't worry, there is nothing to worry about. Say hello to my father for me and see if he is in good health. Then, I hung up. Smoker said that it was very dry, whether God's body is strong, no matter whether it is breath or where, there is no feeling of twilight. Smoker turned around with great difficulty and walked towards Adri. Adri took the mobile phone handed over by Smoker. Well, are you done talking? Ah. Smoker was a little afraid to look up at the old man. Instead, he bowed respectfully and said, Hello, old sir, I have been taken care of by Brother Rossi in the past. Adri waved his hand casually and said, Don't call me old man. According to your seniority, you should call me uncle. It's so kind. Okay, uncle. Looking at the young face in front of him, Smoker couldn't help crying, it was too awkward. Afterwards, Smoker repeated Rosindi's condolences and left. Adri also disappeared in place after the opponent walked away. Appearing not far away, Crow has been waiting for a long time. To be honest, he saw his boss blocking Smoker from a distance. At first, he broke into a cold sweat, but after finding out that nothing happened, he decided to stay away. Adri didn't say anything, just looked Crow up and down, and then handed Crow a small box. Crow took the box, and inside lay a new pair of glasses. Crow looked at the glasses in his hand. Boss, when did you get here? Oh, I valued a pair of gold-rimmed glasses when I was walking around. It seems to suit you. Really? Thank you. Crow took off his cracked glasses and put on new ones. End of this chapter. Chapter 84 Journey of Luo. Chapter 84 Journey of Luo. Hey, Captain, where are we going this time? Don't ask too much, you will know when you arrive, and I will be fine by myself then. What? It's mysterious. Yes, that is. Tell me, Captain. The person asking questions online here is a cute polar bear, but he can speak human language and belongs to the fur family. The eyes with only 2 dots are very playful, and she is wearing an orange long-sleeve jumpsuit. Its name is Beepo. At this moment, the fluffy one is sticking to the body of their pirate captain, constantly acting like a spoiled child. And the person it holds is the captain of the pirate group it belongs to, the Heart Pirate Group, Trafalgar Law. Luo has already officially become a pirate and established his own pirate group. Luo Shidi worried about Luo Xingdi for a long time when he left. After Luo's unremitting efforts and proof, Luo Xingdi felt a little relieved. Through his own tinkering before going to sea and the blessing of his own science and technology park, Luo successfully developed a boat that can travel underwater, the polar diving. After a long time of adventure, he already has a team of nearly 40 people, and he has successfully been rewarded with a high bounty. Even in the underground market, there are bounties for him, but he is required to be caught alive. The one who dared to announce this was naturally Luo's nominal uncle and his enemy, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Ever since Luo went to sea, Doflamingo has not given up on hunting Luo. To be honest, they just escaped the chase not long ago. However, due to the superb performance of the submarine, it can always save the day. Luo looked helplessly at Babua, who was stuck to his body, finally tore him away from him, with black lines all over his face, looking at the curious crew members around him, helplessly holding his forehead, sighed and said, "I'm going to visit someone who is equivalent to my teacher." "So you just wait on the boat." It's actually the captain's teacher. As for the captain's medical skills, there is also a teacher, so amazing, Beppo said with a look of surprise. Pei Jean, who is also a crew member, added on the side. Babua, the captain's medical skills are not innate, of course he needs to learn, isn't it normal to have a teacher? Ah. I didn't expect that. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Beppo bowed and apologized, who told him that he was a polar bear who admits mistakes. Luo lowered the brim of his hat, straightened his expression, and gave orders to Xiaoqi, who was controlling the ship. "Shaki, go to Magnetic Drum Island." "Yes, Captain." Somewhere on the coast of Magnetic Drum Island, Luo dragged his boat ashore, carrying a backpack and holding a sword in his hand, and came to the snowy place alone. Luo tried in vain to remember the route through past memories, but today's snow was a bit heavy, making it difficult for him to distinguish the north, south, east, and west. Finally, the snow was small, and Luo finally found a fire, which was a village. Luo knocked on the door of a house. The door opened, and it was a thickly dressed man who opened the door. "Who?" Luo lowered his head as much as possible, and said in a deep voice, "I'm here to find Ms. Dr. Correja, can I avoid you for a while?" The other party is obviously a little wary. "Are you referring to Mrs. Witch? What are you looking for her for?" "Master Witch. I have been taught by her before, so I stopped by to see her this time." The other party seemed a little happy when he heard it, and asked quickly, "Then you are also a doctor? Then you must be a foreigner." Luo is a little curious. "Oh? What's the matter?" "I'm indeed a doctor. Is there any problem from other places?" The man hurriedly invited Luo in, and instead of answering Luo's question first, he brought Luo to a fireplace. There lay a little girl, flushed and short of breath. Luo could tell what was wrong with the other party at a glance. It was a common disease, but after a long time, it was still very fatal. The man was rummaging for something at home, then held out a stack of Baileys, and begged, "Please save my daughter. He has had a fever for several days." Luo didn't take the money, but just conducted a little investigation to confirm the condition of the illness, then took out some herbs from the backpack he carried with him, and instructed the man. The man kowtowed in thanks and hurried to cook the medicine. Then he gave the girl some medicine, and after briefly confirming that the girl was fine for the time being, Luo Kai walked up to the man and said in a low voice, "The child has had a fever for several days. Why don't you find a doctor for such an ordinary illness?" There was a trace of condemnation in Luo's words. The man was a little ashamed, and began to talk about it. It turns out that the son of the king of Luolai in the early years gathered all the doctors to him after he succeeded to the throne. As a result, he had to pay a lot of money to get a doctor from the current king, and this man's wife gave birth to their daughter with difficulty, and died soon afterwards, leaving him, a grown man, to raise the child. Now that he is sick and can't make up the medical expenses at all, he has been procrastinating, hoping to get the witch to come, and intends to impress the witch with the plum wine stored in their family. Because the witch has become the only doctor on the island who has not been captured by the king. It is the people's only hope. Luo listened silently, never expecting that the magnetic drum island in his memory had changed so much. The next day, the girl's condition has improved, and she has even gradually regained consciousness. Looking at the crying man holding his daughter, with mixed feelings in Luo's heart, he opened his mouth and said, "Take me to see other patients in the village." Luo stayed in the village like this for 2 days. In the past 2 days, he has almost become a big hero in the village. Fortunately, this village is far away from Longcheng, otherwise if someone hears the news, they will definitely come to trouble Luo. On the 3rd day, Luo Shi was awakened by a loud noise. Just got up and saw that the door was opened. Luo covered his eyes with his hands to block the light. "I saw no one who came, I only heard the voice." "Excuse me. Do you want to know the secret of my eternal youth?" When Luo heard the familiar mantra, he immediately realized who it was. Dr. Kureha. Behind her is a blue-nosed reindeer in pants. Dr. Kureha didn't give Luo a chance to speak. "Hey, brat, you're the one who stole my business? How bold, outsider." Luo sneered, without explaining, but got up slowly. "Ms. Dr. Kureha, long time no see." Luo Fu took off his hat in a gentlemanly manner. Dr. Kureha was taken aback for a moment, but laughed loudly instead. "Boy, even if you call me Ms., it's not that simple." Luo unhurriedly took off his hat and said calmly, "Maybe you don't remember, you once treated me and taught me medical skills." Dr. Kureha touched the fur of the reindeer beside him. The blue-nosed reindeer looked up as if in bewilderment. "Of course I remember you, brat with platinum lead disease. I'm talking to you about business, how are you going to solve it?" Luo looked at Dr. Kureha, who was still the same, and just silently took out a bottle of wine from his backpack and threw it over. Dr. Kureha took the wine, looked at it, and uncorked the bottle. "It's been a while since I've smelled this." Dr. Kureha felt a little nostalgic, and what she was holding in her hand was the plum wine that Adri gave her back then, which was only sold by the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. But since the new king came to the throne, the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce has lost contact with Magnetic Drum Island. This made Dr. Kureha hungry for a long time. Without even thinking about it, Dr. Kureha drank it all in one gulp, and quickly finished it, leaving an empty bottle in his hand. Luo also put the hat back on. "Dr. Ms. Kureha, I don't know if you are satisfied with this compensation." "Little devil, what you think is really good." "Of course I know. I'm here this time to find you. What's the matter? Do you have any wine?" "Of course, there are also your favorite prunes." "Then go to my castle." Thanks to Xiao Mawercha for the 100-point reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 85 Teacher, I an amp, #039, am leaving. Chapter 85 Teacher, I'm leaving DR. Kureha got another bottle of wine. "Chopper, go get me a wine glass." "Yes, Madame Doriel." Luo looked at the transformed little reindeer with a little surprise. Dr. Kureha waved his hand. "It's just my stupid son. Really, it seems that I ate a devil fruit." "Devil fruit?" "It should be." At this time, the little reindeer named Chopper also opened the door and walked in. It was ready to endure the terrified gaze of the man in front of it. It has long been used to being called a monster. Anyway, as long as Dr. Doriel is there, it will be fine. Chopper lowered his head. "Hey, little guy, I heard people in the village call you a monster?" Luo spoke. Chopper lowered his head even lower. Sure enough, the person in front of him was no different from anyone else. Luo Yi stretched out his hand. "Room." In an instant, the wine glass in Chopper's hand was replaced by a medical book. The wine glass appeared in Luo's hand. "Amazing. How did you do it?" Chopper couldn't help but marvel. Luo tilted his head and smiled softly. "I am the same kind as you, we also ate devil fruit and were cursed by the sea." "Ha? Devil fruit?" "That's right, a strange-shaped fruit. You should have eaten the human fruit or something." Chopper also seemed to recall something, and immediately became happy. So, I'm not a natural monster? Right. Of course, it's better to say it's lucky. Chopper jumped up all of a sudden, celebrating, great, I'm not a monster. So you're not afraid of me? Of course. On the contrary, you are cute. Luo Ru said. Oh, even if you praise me so much, I won't be happy. Looking at Chopper, who was already dancing, Luo looked at Dr. Kureha. Dr. Kureha said that is the case. Chopper just left the room happily. At this moment, only Luo and Dr. Kureha were left in the room. Luo first took out the 2 bottles of wine and a large bag of prunes from the backpack. Hey, those are good gifts. Dr. Kureha watched happily. As long as you like it. Just to see me this time? Dr. Kureha started eating dried plums and looked at Luo. Luo scratched his head slightly and said, I'm just here to visit you for Grandpa this time. Your grandpa? What? He's finally getting old? Want to find the secret of my eternal youth? Ha 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 ha. No, I just greet you simply. Grandpa is still as young as before. Luo waved his hand quickly. Dr. Kureha lay back and complained. Really, just for this to steal my business? Obviously Dr. Kureha is still finding fault. I also came to visit you specially, and I will give you a few bottles of wine to satisfy your hunger. You kid is still a little friendly. Luo is also ready to get up and say goodbye. Then, Dr. Ms. Kureha, no, teacher, I'm leaving. Who is your teacher, kid? Dr. Kureha pouted and refused to admit it. But in fact, maybe except for Chopper, this little guy still misses him. Luo hesitated for a moment, then turned around and solemnly bowed deeply. Thank you for the life-saving and the kindness of the professor. Dr. Kureha didn't look back at Luo, but took another big sip of plum wine. You brat, you can heal without me. Luo didn't speak and left. Back to shore again. Luo found his own boat and designated it as a submarine lurking on the bottom of the sea. Luo just returned to the boat. Beppo immediately hugged him and said, Captain, I miss you so much. Beppo's face was constantly rubbing. Luo couldn't help but speak a Beppo, do you speak after eating a devil fruit? Captain, no. Beppo said innocently, we fur tribes are born like this. Oh, I got it. What's the matter, Captain? Fine. Luo sent Bebois away and found Xiachi. Has anything happened to Shaggy recently? No, Captain. At this moment Pekin came to report. Captain, found the pirate ship. Luo straightened his face. Distance. It's still far away. I haven't seen the pirate flag much. It's a skeleton wearing a straw hat. Really, then dive first. Avoid contact, there is no need to create extra problems. Yes. The other side. Dr. Kureha is still eating dried plums. Chopper came over obediently and looked at Dr. Kureha, Ms. Doriel, there is someone who doesn't hate me. Chopper, if you meet more people in the future, you will know. Yes, Madame Doriel. Let's go, Chopper, prepare to go down the mountain next time. It is good. Enter the Straw Hat Pirates. Look. It's an island. We're almost there. Great, Nami is saved. Somewhere. Adri stayed in a special lounge. Adri pulled out a cigarette. Crow on the side hurriedly stepped forward to light the fire respectfully. Then stepped aside. Adri was a little annoyed, and the deepness in his eyes could not see the end, but he quickly returned to calm. Crow handed over the ashtray very familiarly. It hurts to be familiar. In fact, since being brought back, Crow has completely understood how divine Adri is. Under the maid's deliberate explanation, Adri has almost become a big boss in his heart. Also at this moment, he knew that what Adrian promised him in the past was not illusory, and it could even be said that in Adrian, it was something within reach. But what shocked Crow the most was Adri's age. It turned out that the eldest son of his family, "Ah no, my lord actually has a son in his 30s. It is said that Lord Adri has a total of 2 boys and 1 girl, and even now he has 2 grandchildren. It's big. If nothing goes wrong, Master Adri may be older than he imagined." As for the specific age, Crow dare not guess. He was afraid of scaring himself. Even if he is as smart as him, he still can't figure out why his lord came to find him from the East China Sea. If he had to say that, the only answer is his own wisdom. But being able to come all the way to the East China Sea from the Great Route moved Crow very much. Didn't expect that his prestige is already so big? Actually not. Under the special circumstances of Adriatic, he took Crow to watch the information board about Crow himself. In an instant, Crow was so frightened that he broke into cold sweat. He didn't know that his information was recorded in such detail. This made him unable to bear a sense of fear of being seen through. As a man with a high IQ, he doesn't want to admit that someone is smarter than him. What he fears is that someone can completely see through his mind, showing himself in front of others as if he had no clothes on. But Adri put his hand on Claude's shoulder to express his relief, and tore up the few pieces of paper. Crow also understood the meaning of Adri's move. Then Crow got a piece of information about some of Adri's current forces on the surface. As the shocking words extended, Crow didn't feel scared but felt endless turbulence in his heart. He will enjoy the shade under the big tree, and he hugged a thigh that is definitely thick enough. At this moment, although Crow's facial expression is calm, his heart is surging. That's exactly what Adri appreciates. So, this time, Adri is taking Crow on a visit. Alabasta. End of this chapter. Chapter 86 Meeting with Hawkeye. Chapter 86 Meeting with Hawkeye. On the vast sea, a yacht is moving fast. The logo of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is printed on the body of the yacht. Only Adrian know. We're on board. They are driving to a place. Just treat it as official business. Adri sat in the front of the yacht, enjoying the refreshing sea breeze, and occasionally shaking the champagne in his hand. The endless sea, cool waves fly by the sides of the boat. Adri's originally scattered hair, under the blessing of the wind, turned into a big back. The black cloak he was wearing swayed freely in the wind. A small boat appeared not far away. It was said that the boat was more like a coffin, and there were still green candles burning in the corners of the coffin. Adri leaned back on the luxurious seat, took off his sunglasses, hung them on his collar, and put his hands back on the chair. Closer. On the coffin-like boat, a person sat calmly, looking closely at the other party, his short black hair, eagle-like sharp yellow eyes appearing under the brim of the hat, a short beard, a black top hat with white fluff, a wine-red patterned shirt, a black windbreaker, and white trousers. Booties. A small cross knife was hung on his chest, and a black knife was carried behind his back. Hawkeye, my hawk. One of the 7 Wuhais under the king. And the black sword behind him is the black sword known as the strongest in the world. Yi. He himself is also known as the strongest swordsman in the world. The 2 ships meet. My hawk, who was sitting on the boat, didn't care about the passing boat, but lowered the brim of his hat and ignored it. Adrian was a little interested. Because this child seems to know his own son, as an elder, shouldn't he greet him a little bit? Isn't this equivalent to meeting a child's friend while shopping? And Adri hesitated whether to say hello. Hawkeye noticed Adri's gaze and looked back. There was still a distance between the 2 of them. In this way, the 2 sides were silent for a while, and neither of them had the intention of sailing the boat in other directions. Soon the 2 silent ships were about to intersect, and at this moment, when the 2 ships were parallel to each other, My Hawk's ship stopped. Adri's yacht also stopped. The 2 sides faced each other at a distance like this. Both of them were sitting on their own boats and did not make eye contact. Adrian got up first, dropped the champagne in his hand, and stood on the bow. Hawkeye also turned his head slowly at this moment, looking at Adri, who was standing at the bow. The 2 pairs of eyes met. My hawk's hawk-like eyes stared closely at Adri, but Adri looked much more relaxed, not as deep as before. This time it was his cub's friend, and Adri planned to make his eyes gentler as much as possible. Hawkeye noticed something was wrong, got up, came to the side of his boat, and asked in a deep voice. "What's with that look in your eyes? Adri shrugged and replied. You should know my son. Your son? Hawkeye was confused. Adri then pulled out the pendant from his neck and said calmly. My son's name is Don Quixote Doflamingo. Hawkeye's pupils dilated, and he immediately regained his composure. His hostility was a little less, and his tone eased a lot. Doflamingo and I are just drinking buddies, we don't know each other very well. Really, I was still thinking that he rarely has a friend. Judging by your reaction, you seem to know me? Doflamingo mentioned his father occasionally. Only mentioned occasionally. Adrian looked a little disappointed. But in fact, Hawkeye knew that Doflamingo would mention very few things to him, but his father might be the one he mentioned the most. Every time after drinking, Mihawk could feel Doflamingo's heartfelt awe and admiration for his father. Every time he talked, he also liked to rub the pendant hanging around his neck. Hawkeye calmed down, remembering his business. The reason why Hawkeye stopped was because his black knife moved. This means that his black knife is agitated, so the person in front of him who claims to be Doflamingo's father is very likely to be a swordsman. But what makes Hawkeye strange is that he can tell whether it is a swordsman at a glance, but he can't judge the opponent. The aura on the opponent's body was too chaotic, and it didn't look like what a swordsman had at all. Are you a swordsman? A swordsman? Why do you think so? It's nothing. There is still one person on board. Do you want to meet? Hawkeye nodded. He didn't want to miss this opportunity. It is definitely not an ordinary swordsman to make his black sword yayo respond. This is a rare opportunity to learn from each other, a duel between the strong. At this moment, no. Came under Adrian's signal. Hawkeye shook his head quickly. His intuition told him that the opponent was definitely not a swordsman. Then, in this vast sea, there are only two people, one is absolutely not, then the other. Adri watched no. Walk away, and approached Mihawk silently. So, look, do I look like the swordsman you're looking for? Mihawk is not sure yet, but as Adri approached, his black knife reacted more and more violently. Mihawk immediately looked up at Adri, only to see Adri smiling, and his whole body changed. At this moment, his aura was very sharp, as if something had broken through the ground, and the black aura began to surround Adri, as if forming an armor. The black breath gathered towards Adri's right hand. Hawkeye pulled out the black knife on his back and pointed it straight at Adri, because at this moment the black mist on Adri's right hand gradually formed the shape of a sword. Finally, the mist receded, and a sharp sword appeared in front of his eyes. Hawkeye felt the black knife in his hand became more excited, and the expression on Hawkeye's face also became excited, and then became firm again. It's you! You are the swordsman who made my black knife react. Adri didn't speak, which was a tacit consent. At this moment, the two sword-bearers hadn't confronted each other, but their momentum had already risen. Adri held the sword in his hand, but did not raise it. Why don't you raise your sword? Don't you dare. Don't dare? How could it be? I just want you to understand one thing. As he said that, Adrian dragged his sword to the bow of the ship, raised it lightly, and swung it upwards towards the sea. The black sword light flew towards the boundless sky. There was no response. After waiting for a while, I saw that the entire sky was split into two halves at this moment, and the clouds in the sky were divided into two halves in an orderly manner at this moment, as if someone had drawn a line in the sky, stretching thousands of miles. It is said that on a certain day in 1520 in the lunar calendar of the sea, the sky of the Great Route was divided into two halves by a huge line, which could not be recovered for a long time, and it took 3 days and 3 nights to dissipate. Hawkeye looked at this scene at the moment and couldn't help but admire. Dare to ask, but Senior is the mysterious swordsman who chopped off the 10,000 years ice more than 10 years ago and left traces on the Red Earth continent. Hawkeye looked at the black sword light and remembered that he had gone to look for the whereabouts of that person more than 10 years ago, but in the end it didn't come to fruition. Hawkeye's eyes became eager, and he held his sword hilt tightly, eager to start the confrontation immediately. But Adri said lightly, I have something to do today, so how about we just play one move against each other? It is good. Hawkeye readily agreed. The battle is imminent. A few days later. The world only knows that Hawkeye has automatically announced that he will no longer be the #1 swordsman in the world. The world is shocked. But no one knows who defeated Hawkeye and convinced him. They only know that since then, Hawkeye has a scar on his chest. But because they don't know the specific situation, people still call Hawkeye the world's #1 swordsman. This thing will eventually become a mystery. Just like one day, the sky was divided into two halves for no reason. Thanks to Chukapipi for the 1133-point reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 87, Chapter 87. Chapter 87, Number 87, Golden City. Golden City. Grand de Solo. The world's largest casino. A casino that promises to get rich overnight. There are two giant turtles pulling in the sea, ignoring the current and wind direction. The Grand de Solo claims to be a country, an independent country in the world, and a special neutral zone recognized by governments around the world. Today, the Golden City ushered in a special guest sea king. She was greeted by a red-haired beauty with wheat-colored skin. She is a lucky fruit ability user, Bakala. Bakala twisted her sexy waist and walked to greet her step by step. This time, the character was someone that her boss, Lord de Solo, should take seriously. Bakala came to the port. A high-profile yacht gliding into the arena has attracted the attention of many people. The most important thing is that the logo of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is printed on the hull. At the bow, there is a man standing, with black hair combed back and a big back, wearing a black feather coat. As soon as they arrived at the port, the other party jumped down. Bakala recognized the other party and carefully compared the manual in her hand. Everyone in the dark world knows that the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce belongs to the Shipping King's family. And the picture of the Sea King has never been released, and at this moment, Bakala is holding a real photo of the Sea King. It was handed to her by Gilder de Solo himself, with serious instructions. Be sure to entertain well. This made Baccarat very puzzled. He had never seen Lord de Solo so seriously explaining that he wanted to entertain someone. But Bakala calmed down and smiled forward. When she first got the picture of the Sea King, Bakala was stunned for a moment. She never thought that the old Sea King in her imagination would be so young. You must know that the other party is a veteran emperor of the dark world. Bakala stepped forward to strike up a conversation with a nervous mood. Hi, may I ask if you are the Shipping King? I am. Bakala came forward with a smiling face, but was interrupted mercilessly. Take me to Desoro. Adri glanced over briefly. Bakala was taken aback. The deep voice of the other party made her feel uncomfortable, but she still greeted Adri with a smiling face and got into the turtle car. This is actually not the first time Adrian visited the Golden City, but de Solo was not notified the previous few times, so this is an official visit. Adri got into the turtle car without saying a word. Are you alone? Bakala asked, and Adri nodded slightly. Adri didn't plan to bring anyone here, and no. Was just helping to watch the ship, and he was honestly on board. Adri just spread his legs like this, sat in the back seat in an extremely arrogant posture, smoked a cigarette from time to time, and had no communication with Bakala at all. Bakala, who was thinking about introducing it, didn't know what to do. The other party was not interested in everything in Desoro City. Even Bakara rarely received such guests, let alone ones that made her creepy. I always feel that what is behind me is not a person but a piece of ice for thousands of years. From the beginning to the end, the other party's expression has not changed and has always been an indifferent face. The taciturnity along the way finally stopped at the destination. Golden King Hotel made of pure gold, the only 8-star hotel in the world. Bakala took Adri to a parlor. De Solo arrived soon after, followed by Mr. Tanaka, who has the ability to wear fruit. He is also the chief guard of the Golden City and de Solo's confidant. Hiro Loro. The other party always liked to smile like this, but today, he didn't dare. Because the Sea King's eyes are frightening, as if a swamp can completely sink a person into it and cannot survive. Baccarat came to de Solo's side and gestured. De Solo nodded and came to Adri. At this moment, he has a serious face. On weekdays, de Solo always smiles when receiving people. This is something that everyone around de Solo knows. Because de Solo is not just an entertainer on stage. And the king of a country. I saw that DeSolo did not sit down for the first time, but bowed slightly, and shouted surprising words, "Father, good day." Bakala and Mr. Tanaka looked at this scene in surprise. This scene had a great impact on people like them who have been by each other's side all year round. They looked at Adri, only to see Adri's reaction as usual, just nodded, and then looked at them. DeSolo understood the meaning and added, "Trust me, confidant. Then sit down." The two people who were named also saluted obediently, under Adri's gaze. Now that DeSolo has sat down, DeSolo has returned to normal, no longer serious. But the two standing beside him were not much better, still in shock aftertaste. Adoptive father. The two couldn't help peeking at Adri, who was seated in front of them, and sighed secretly in their hearts. DeSolo naturally ignored it, but put his hands on the table. The 9 fingers are empty, except for a pure gold ring on the ring finger of the left hand. Adri suddenly turned gloomy. DeSolo, how is Stella doing? Facing the questioning of his half-father-in-law, DeSolo seemed a little awkward. Stella is doing well these days. Adri's tone also slowed down. If there's anything wrong with my adopted daughter, you won't show up intact. DeSolo seemed a little at a loss. He couldn't let go of his nervousness in front of this elder, so he could only touch his head to avoid embarrassment. The duo almost fainted after watching their boss's behavior. Is this really their domineering boss? Seems like it. Everyone knows that there are 2 owners of the Golden City. One is DeSolo, and the other is DeSolo's lover, also known as Mrs. Stella. But they didn't expect Mrs. Stella to be the adopted daughter of the Sea King. Anyone who has stayed in the Golden City for a long time knows how loving the DeSaros are. DeSolo once confessed his love to Mrs. Stella in front of thousands of audiences, and the two kissed passionately on the stage more than once, showing a lot of love. And Mrs. Stella also loves dancing, and often forms a husband and wife team with DeSolo to perform. On their wedding anniversary, DeSolo replaced all billboards in the Golden City with confession tools and photos of the two. Even a wedding anniversary memorial made of gold is placed in the park in front of the Golden King Hotel. The life of this couple is the envy of all. DeSolo is not close to women on weekdays, whether it is to Baccara or the new popular singer, Karina. DeSolo maintains the appearance of a good man, but in fact this is the truth. Father, Stella also misses you very much. She should have already dressed up. You know, it takes a little time for a woman to dress up. DeSolo's voice is getting quieter. Adri expressed his understanding. Along the way, he had heard a lot about the fact that DeSolo was actually afraid of his wife. DeSolo is ruthless to the outside world, but he is extremely gentle when facing Stella, and often accommodates her. In DeSolo's eyes, Stella is her star. Then I'll go see her again later. Now, let's get down to business. DeSolo straightened his expression when he heard Adrian say this, and was ready to listen. About your business with Daphne. End of this chapter. Chapter 88 The Mysterious Mr. Candy. Chapter 88 The Mysterious Mr. Candy. A port in Alabasta. The people cheered and greeted their heroes, one of the current Shichibukai, Sand Crocodile. Crocodile finished his daily routine of collecting pirates and fame, and returned to his office. A long straight black beauty in a hat brought him a cup of coffee. It is worth noting that there is a bloody pendant hanging around the woman's neck. Thank you, boss. Crocodile took the coffee naturally and began to read the latest daily newspaper. This beautiful woman with a slender figure didn't say a word, just continued to do what she was doing silently. Crocodile turned his head, saw only this woman, looked at the newspaper again, and asked casually, "What about others?" The black-haired woman turned her head and smiled slightly. You go on mission. Oh? There are still tasks for him to do now? Crocodile seemed a little surprised, but he never took his eyes off the newspaper. Today's newspaper is a local newspaper in Alabasta, and it also includes Crocodile's recent achievements. The black-haired woman found a place to sit down, served herself a small cup of coffee, took a small breath, and replied. Recently, the manpower is a bit tight, and there are many tasks. Crocodile was smoking a cigar, and waved his hand to signal that it goes without saying. The woman also closed her mouth obediently. After finishing the newspaper, Crocodile pulled out a stack of documents from his desk and started working. From time to time, he glanced at the calm woman sitting beside him. The other party is his nominal secretary, but the two are just working together for now. In the dark, Crocodile is actually Baroque Studio, the boss of the secret crime company, and his secretary acts as an intermediary, giving orders for him, and the code name of the other party in the studio is Mississippi. All Sunday. At this moment, this Mississippi All Sunday is sipping his own coffee, and he has not forgotten to ask his boss for some file information. While processing the documents, an arrogant man pushed the door open and entered, walking out with steps that no relatives would recognize. The other party was dressed very casually, with a cowboy hat on his head, and he also had the demeanor of a Western cowboy. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Mississippi All Sunday and immediately got down obediently. He found a nearby seat and sat down, unceremoniously hold coffee pot and pour coffee. "Hey! Mr. Candy, you have to knock on the door when you come in. Do you take my boss seriously?" Crocodile angrily knocked heavily on the table with the golden hook of his left hand, in exchange for an understatement from the man called Mr. Candy. Oh. Crocodile hated iron for being weak, so he simply ignored the two sitting next to him. Mr. Candy took out a pistol from his waist, and Mississippi All Sunday handed over the handkerchief skillfully. Mr. Candy took the handkerchief and began to wipe his gun without any communication on the way. Crocodile was helpless about this. There were two people who knew their identities. Mississippi All Sunday is trading with yourself and taking a momentary subservience to yourself. As for Mr. Candy, he was recommended by Mississippi All Sunday. According to Crocodile's temperament, he refused at first, but after discovering that the other person was a sharpshooter, he still agreed to let him join his subordinates, although this is somewhat possible. Mississippi All Sunday found a bodyguard for herself, because Mr. Candy almost never leaves Mississippi All Sunday and follows him all day long. This is why Crocodile was surprised when he didn't see Mr. Candy at first. Mr. Candy sticks behind Mississippi All Sunday like a follower. Although Crocodile did not refuse this kind of behavior, it was normal for his secretary to find a bodyguard. Moreover, Mr. Candy's strength is not enough to shake him, and it can be said that it is easy for him to solve him, but when the other party accidentally ran into a little secret of Crocodile, Crocodile became a little passive. Because of the existence of Mississippi All Sunday, Mr. Candy cannot be shot at will, or his plan will fail. Mississippi All Sunday is an important part of his plan and must not be missed. Besides, Crocodile didn't take that secret to heart, it was just a matter of face. And most importantly, Mr. Candy's attitude is very strange. His relationship with Mississippi All Sunday is not like a friend, it feels a little vague, and occasionally feels close and occasionally feels some negative emotions. In short, it's a bit complicated, but very familiar, like living together for a while, but not so close. Crocodile feels that Mr. Candy likes Mississippi All Sunday. In short, there are a lot of melons in it. As the boss of a Baroque studio, how could he be curious about his subordinates' gossip? At most, I accidentally heard a little bit, and accidentally saw a little bit. But in fact, except that Mr. Candy and Mississippi All Sunday each know their real relationship, everything is just speculation. It's just that everyone knows that Mr. Candy will always stop for plants like desert roses. Alabasta, Shanghai branch, training ground. Crow, it's too slow, hurry up. Yes. Crow wiped the sweat from his face. He didn't expect that he, who always claimed to be fast, would be called slow, but he didn't dare to neglect the slightest, but worked harder to attack the target in front of him. Crow's body has been modified by Adri, and its upper limit has been increased by more than 2 times. All of this, Crow can feel that his body is indeed much lighter than before, but it is only limited to this, because it takes time and energy to further stimulate the potential. And Chloe just needs to spend more sweat, in order to achieve the life of his dreams. He is crazily making money as a pirate, but he hates the days of being chased and killed. He pursues his wealth and hates his identity as a pirate. His hope is to live a peaceful life, but everything is in vain. Being broken, he didn't know whether he should thank the guy in the straw hat for allowing him to meet his nobleman, and as long as he honestly followed this big man, he would have no worries about food and clothing, right, fame, status, wealth, everything is at your fingertips. As cunning as he is, how could he fail to see the huge benefits in it? As the Lord's confidant, he will be admired by thousands of people, and this is only the first step in the beginning. Crow's head was running fast, and the speed in his hand was also a little faster. Crow kept attacking the target until his clothes were wet with sweat, and his greasy hair began to become messy. Crow wanted to continue, but Adri stopped him. "Okay, Chloe, that's all for today." "Yes, my lord." Crow bowed politely. At least, he still knows that his family still attaches great importance to image and etiquette. Fortunately, he did not learn etiquette in vain when he was a housekeeper. After all, his current position is the personal chief executive. Although I don't understand the actual meaning of this position, but I know this position just by hearing the name, and I have to admire my lord's approach. This is a good way to win people's hearts. Anyone who dares to do this is either a fool or a strategist. But at least, Crow felt that he had found a good club. End of this chapter. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. Ace was walking in the endless desert with his bag on his back. In this vast and endless desert, the heat waves hit people everywhere, like a raging fire. If you get tired from walking halfway, find a good place to rest. He's looking for a traitor to bring him back. Now he is no longer the captain of the Spades Pirates, but the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. After resting for a while, Ace poured some water from the water hyacinth he was carrying around his waist. Afterwards, he put it away properly, stood up, threw the bag he was carrying aside, and wiped the corners of his mouth carelessly with his hands. Standing up straight, Ace looked around. The sky was getting dark, the sun was approaching dusk, everything was golden yellow under the rays of the setting sun, countless sandstones stretched endlessly, and the whole world was covered by gold at this moment. Ace admired the scenery seriously, and a smile could not help but rise from the corner of his mouth. "Hey, why don't you come out and enjoy the beautiful scenery together?" Ace's gaze moved to a rock. But there was no response. Ace touched his head helplessly. "Hey, are you really not going to come and see?" Ace continued to watch the beautiful dusk, and couldn't help sighing. "It's really beautiful." Still no response from the rock. Ace didn't force it, just continued to watch the beautiful scenery, feeling the weakening of the sweltering heat wave, and the coolness came. Ace relaxed, closing his eyes and enjoying. But in an instant, Ace's eyes opened suddenly, and a wave of malice rushed over from the rock. Ace immediately tensed up. Instead of relaxing before, he let out his breath, warning those who were hiding behind the rock. "Are you sure you haven't come out yet?" Ace's tone became low, and his whole body was like a lion ready to go, ready to charge at any time. There was still no movement in the rock. Ace snorted. "Crossfire." Ace interlaced his 2 index fingers to form a cross, and then shot a cross-shaped light from his fingers to aim at the opponent, and then sprayed flames along the cross-shaped light to shoot at the rock not far away, and the rock shattered all of a sudden. But the strange thing is that there is no figure. Ace did not let down his vigilance, because an illusory figure appeared a few meters away from the rock, and the other person was panting heavily. "Shave?" Ace is a little unsure. Is it the Navy? No, because although the visitor turned his back to the sun, his clothes were not like a Navy uniform, and he could only be seen wearing glasses through the reflection. But what surprised Ace the most was the opponent's hands. The opponent is wearing gloves, and each finger on the glove contains a sword, 10 swords in total. Ace was a little surprised, but he recovered quickly. He wanted to try to communicate with the other party, but the other party did it first. The opponent's movement speed is fast, but it's not bad for Ace. Seeing that the opponent has already made a move, Ace is naturally not used to it. "Musket." Ace pointed at the opponent with the index and middle fingers of both hands like a gun, and then used his fingertips to shoot continuous small flames at the enemy to attack the opponent. The opponent avoided them one by one with ease. The opponent's goal is to get close. As the opponent got closer and closer, Ace could see the opponent's face clearly, and the corners of the opponent's mouth could not be controlled to rise. Cat shadow leaping. I saw the other party jumping into the air, and then launched his own cat's claw to slam Ace. Ace's expression was a little strange, but he still avoided it. Seeing that the move failed, the other party decided to keep trying. Attacks come one after another. Cat shadow 2-stage claw. I saw the opponent wielding 10 swords and charging towards Ace for the second time. Ace hit again, the expression on his face becoming increasingly strange. Silent step. I saw the other party stepping on his feet lightly, and then disappeared. Ace was curious at first, and an even more strange expression appeared on his face, so he stood still. Seeing that Ace is not moving, the opponent immediately attacks and seizes the opportunity. Cat's claw thrust. I saw the opponent's 10-bladed stab attack, hitting Ace's heart directly, but suddenly turned to Ace's shoulder. Boom! It hit, but the attacker's eyes became extremely terrified, and he didn't feel like he was piercing the flesh, as if it was a mass of air. Looking at Ace again, Ace's shoulders have turned into flames. After eating the burning fruit, he can completely avoid attacks with elementalization, of course, if he is not armed. And the reason why Ace was strange at first was that at first he thought that the other party was coming for him and must be a strong man in the new world, but he didn't expect the other party's tricks to be so clumsy, and he didn't need to be armed to deal with him, and it seemed even the color of knowledge has not been awakened. For Ace, who has the color of knowledge, it is easy to avoid the opponent's attack. In this way, it seems that the other party does not seem to recognize him, and naturally he will not be the person sent by Blackbeard. Ace couldn't help but sigh. The other party looked at Ace with an indifferent attitude and began to collapse a bit, and kept attacking, but it didn't work at all. The attacker was none other than Crow, and Crow couldn't believe his eyes at this moment. Why is this happening? Die! Crow relaxed his body and attacked Ace continuously with his cat's claws, but it didn't work. Ace just looked at Crow indifferently. This made Crow frown tightly, and the ineffectiveness of every attack made his body and mind cool down a bit. He was a little desperate. He had only one last resort. Setsuna Cat Blade 100 strikes. Crow hit himself again, but this time, Ace had a bad feeling, and he retreated quickly. Crow thrust forward with all his strength, facing Ace with continuous ultra-high-speed attacks. But this time the attack was extraordinary. The sharp blade was no longer a white blade but was gradually wrapped in armed colors. The instant attack caught Ace a little off guard, but it was still manageable. Ace couldn't help frowning, as long as he was far enough away, and besides, he didn't come in vain for the past few years. Flame armor. The fiery red flames wrapped Ace and finally formed an extremely hard armor to protect Ace tightly, so that Ace was not hurt at all. Crow looked at the other party with a little despair, and his eyes became ruthless. Ace looked at each other's eyes. Okay, it's time to end this fight. Ace turned around. Shunhua. Before he finished speaking, Ace only felt a pair of hands on his shoulder, and he was shocked for a moment. Hey, Ace, long time no see. Hearing this deep voice, Ace seemed to think of something. His eyes slowly widened, the expression on his face began to change rapidly, and he turned around quickly. At this moment, he no longer cares about Crow. And Crow also dragged his burns and saluted slowly. It was Adri who stood in front of them. What's wrong, little Ace? I don't recognize me anymore. Ace's mouth was so wide open at the moment, his eyes almost popped out. Grandpa Adri. Why are you still like that? Ace was excited and surprised, because the person in front of him was exactly the same as Adri in his memory. Adrian smiled and didn't answer. End of this chapter. Chapter 90 Ace and Amp, #039, as thoughts. Chapter 90 Ace's thoughts. By the campfire at night, Ace is excitedly communicating with Adri. Grandpa Adri, why are you here? Really, tell me earlier. Adri looked at the fire, chuckled and said, I just happened to see you, boy, and I asked my people to test you by the way. Try and try? Well, your people are a bit strange. Adrian said he didn't care. Ace was thinking back to the scene of the battle. Ben Mao, the person involved, was cleaning his blade. Crow didn't want to talk at all, and he was a little autistic for the child. The message that Crow received at the beginning was to fight with Ace, but not to hurt his life. Shit cannot hurt his life, which is obviously to prevent the other party from hurting his life. Still trying, it's not too bad to test him himself, but fortunately, he has awakened to be domineering, and his previous efforts are not in vain. But before that, my lord didn't say that the other party was a natural-type fruit ability user at all. Now, Crow looked at Ace's reward order and fell into deep thought. I didn't expect that I would be so brave one day. With only 1,600 million Baileys, he actually has the courage to single out a big pirate with a bounty of over 5 million or even 5,000 million Baileys. He is also one of the emperors of the New World and the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Team leader, Crow was so shocked that his brain short-circuited. Even if he expanded it, he never dared to imagine it. Can I go out and blow now? My own hard steel fire fist, Ace, is not dead yet. He retreats completely. If others know about this, they won't be scared to death. Crow felt that he could play for a lifetime. Adri didn't care about the situation of one of his subordinates, but continued to pay attention to Ace, who was eating barbecue. Ace, what are you doing in Alabasta? Adrian looked at Ace kindly. Ace stuffed his mouth full of grilled meat and said vaguely, look for someone to cough cough. Adri tapped the choking Ace on the back, motioning him to speak slowly. Ace also quickly swallowed the last piece of meat, and said comfortably, I am here to find a traitor. Ace's face said that the traitor sank for a moment, but when he faced Adri, he changed into a good boy's face. Actually, it's nothing, just a traitor. Ace said confidently. Ace turned to ask Adri politely. Grandpa Adri, what about you? Adri reacted. I'm talking about business. Oh, I see. Adri was a little sad. Looking at Ace under the light of the fire, Adri decided to ask. Ace, can you tell me about your recent experience? It's been a while since you called me last time. You ignored me as an old man. It almost made me think that you despised me as an old man. Upon hearing this, Ace immediately waved his hand holding the barbecue, looking flustered. No way. Grandpa Adri, don't be like this. I'm also busy recently. Ace tried desperately to explain, but Adrian could tell that the kid had lied. Obviously the guy forgot. But Adri didn't bother to expose it, and the kid was like that. Really, Ace, then tell me, I'm curious how you got into Whitebeard's boat. As soon as he said this, Ace's interest rose. From the beginning, I went to find the red hair, then I went to Kaido, and finally I went to the Whitebeard to start talking. But obviously Ace didn't have any resistance to his loss to Whitebeard, and the battle process was not simple and very objective. This also made Adri very relieved. The kid who refused to admit defeat back then can be considered to have grown up. In the end, Ace said that he still stayed in the Whitebeard Pirates and disbanded the original pirates. Whenever Ace talked about wearing Whitebeard, he seemed very happy, and often told some interesting stories at the banquet. But he didn't notice the twitching of the corners of Adrian's eyes when he talked about Whitebeard becoming his father. In the end, when it was said that Sage was killed and Blackbeard fled, Ace's tone had already increased, and flames had unconsciously burst out of his body. Ace's tone became more and more serious. Adrian could already clearly feel Ace's anger and guilt. Because Blackbeard teaches his team. This made Ace very angry, because everyone on the Whitebeard pirate ship regarded each other as family. As the sons of Whitebeard, killing each other is taboo, and Blackbeard has violated the bottom line. So, I must catch Tiki and come back and confess. Ace also noticed his intense tone at this moment, and immediately scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm sorry to say such an unhappy thing. It's okay, I'm glad you're willing to tell me. Adri said. Ace was still embarrassed, smiled awkwardly, and then fell silent. Adri took out a bottle of wine from his backpack. Drink? Ace glanced at it, immediately smiled and said, of course, it's like having a party. That 10-sword swordsman, you come too. Ace dragged Crow over and handed him the wine glass. It is rare for Adri to be the pourer once, and he served Esmond. It's good to drink more now and then. Ace breathed a sigh of relief. Crow took the bottle and poured some for Adri by himself, but Adri refused, but handed the glass to Crow. Today, you should drink some too. Crow suffered a bit of a blow today and needs to take it easy. After thinking for a while, Crow also drank the wine in the glass. As time passed, Crow, who was relatively quiet on weekdays, was also drunk at this moment under the influence of alcohol and said some words that people could not understand, and soon passed out. Adri looked at Ace, who was a little drunk. It was this little guy who drank Chloe. Adrian straightened his expression. Ace. Ace also suddenly changed his a little drunk state and returned to normal color. Grandpa Adri, do you want to say something to me? Ace took another sip of his drink. Adri always shows his preoccupation, and he can naturally see it. Ace, you really don't have to feel guilty, it wasn't your fault. No. Grandpa Adri, I know about it. I know, but, can you make sure? Don't worry, I'm just a trader, I won't do anything. I want to make sure. Didn't you confirm it? How is it? My performance. Ace flashed a smile, as if taking credit. Better than I thought. That's great. Looking at Ace's more determined attitude, Adri felt that it would be useless to persuade him, and what the child believed could not be changed. Adri pondered for a while, but choked out a sentence. A lion needs all his strength to fight a rabbit. Do you understand? Be careful. Ace thought about it, looked up at the starry sky tonight, and said softly, I see, Grandpa Adri. Ace said happily, but his face was full of solemnity. Adri didn't say anything, but let it go. Because with Ace's current strength, he may not be able to defeat the opponent. Under Adri's hints in the past, Ace has put in a lot of hard work, and he is a bit better than he should be. Adri still intends to let nature take its course, and he can't control so much. After all, this kid didn't grow up under his knees. He just hoped. Early the next morning, Ace embarked on the journey and waved goodbye to Adri. End of this chapter. Chapter 91 The Discussion with Cobra. Chapter 91 The Discussion with Cobra. Porp porp. Adri pulled out a phone bug, which would surprise anyone who saw it, because the phone bug had a white beard that curved up like a crescent. Crack. Hey, what's the matter? With you, I will become your son from a younger generation. Ha? Why don't I know? Could it be that the person who took in recently belonged to your family? That's not bad, cool. By the way, what's the name of your junior? Is it your nephew? That junior is my friend's grandson, named Ace. Can you say that again? It's my grandson, he calls you daddy. Tell me, how to calculate this matter. Let's talk about how you met Ace first. Okay, let's talk about business. The voice on the other side also corrected, what made you call me so early in the morning? I met Ace. Did he tell you? Well, that's right. That's it. What is this? White beard. Why don't you stop him? Gulu gulu, I allow it. I will not refuse my children's ideas. If something happens, our Whitebeard pirates will take care of it. Hope. Adrian hung up the phone. Crow woke up from his sleep, not feeling hungover at all. He tidied up his clothes, and under the influence of Adrian, he was used to keeping calm on weekdays. Except yesterday. Thinking of this, Crow's face was covered with black lines, but when he woke up, the big man with 5 million Pele had left yesterday, and Crow was relieved. I saw my boss looking in the direction of the sun in a daze. Crow didn't bother, and stood behind him silently. As a qualified personal chief executive, Crow felt that he had done a great job. At least possible. Let's go, Chloe. Adri said and got up, and Crow hurriedly followed. Because they also have a goal this time. Ames. The capital of Alabasta, Albana. Although there are rebels outside, the capital Albana is still peaceful, because there are 60 standing troops here, which is also a place where people can feel at ease. However, the investigation has been strict recently, and the entrances and exits are strictly controlled. There was a long queue. Crow, who was standing at the end of the team, couldn't bear it, but because of Adri's majesty, he still stayed honestly, and he didn't want to cause confusion. But what surprised him the most was that his lord could face all this calmly. After a while, it was their turn. Adri didn't say anything, but showed a token. The guard soldier was stunned for a moment, and quickly checked the token, and called many other people, and after finding out the truth, the soldier's attitude became respectful, and they quickly called on a few soldiers to escort the other party to the royal city. In this way, the two of them entered the palace unimpeded. Crow is constantly observing something. When they came to the meeting hall, they finally saw the sad-looking king, Cobra. Cobra has black mid-length hair, but his complexion is not very good at the moment. Cobra supported his forehead while processing the documents on the desk, and sighed slightly from time to time. When he saw a guest, he tidied up his appearance and returned to normal. Cobra raised his head and saw Adri. He was taken aback for a moment, then immediately hid himself. Cobra stood up, stepped forward and stretched out his hand. Mr. Adri, long time no see. King Cobra, you are welcome. Then Cobra motioned for Adri to sit down, and Crow just stood aside. Cobra sat opposite Adri and took a sip of tea. I don't know, why did Mr. Adri find me this time? Adri crossed his hands and rested his chin. King Cobra, our Starsea Chamber of Commerce currently has a certain amount of disaster relief resources and water resources. Cobra's hand holding the teacup stays in the air. It seems that Your Excellency knows the situation on my side. Hey, but at present I don't have much money to buy these supplies from you. I know, Your Majesty, so this time, our Shanghai Chamber of Commerce donated unilaterally, and we don't plan to charge fees. Your Excellency, there is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. I think you should directly mention your opinion. Cobra said bluntly, although he was very grateful to Adri for his help, but as a king, he had to think a little more. Adri looked at Cobra's sincere eyes. The other party seemed to be about to discuss business. Adri sat up straight. King Cobra, this is not a business, but just our unilateral investment, so that we can better cooperate with your country in the future. Cobra crossed his hands, looking at Adri's serious eyes. Cobra was still a little uneasy. Your Excellency, why don't we do this? Let's take it as an advance payment and pay when my country settles down. As for your help, this country will never forget it. It is true that, as a member of the world, there is no movement from the world government. It simply tells him to wait. It will take time for the Navy to come over. As the former president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Adri is willing to do so. He was very moved. Well, since you insist, I will follow your opinion. Adri said lightly. But one more thing to add. This time, I'll just transfer the supplies to you directly. Only by giving these supplies to the people in person can your prestige be restored. Grateful. Our Shanghai Chamber of Commerce believes in you. You are not the kind of person who will take advantage of dancing fans, and you will not be so stupid as to personally escort you. In our eyes, you are still a good king who understands the people and governs for the people. Thank you for your trust. This is natural. To do business, we must pay attention to the trust of both parties. Adri's action this time was actually reported to Rosindi. Although Adri is the original president and still has some rights, he still has to tell the current president about this kind of donation, even if the other party is his own. Son, the distinction between public and private is very important in a family business. Anyway, Rosindi readily accepted it, and was very satisfied with this action under the persuasion of Crow's plan. As the president of the president, Luo Shidi naturally now also knows about planning interests for his own company. Appropriate investment is necessary, as long as my father can be sure to earn it back. Admittedly, Adri believes that Alabasta can tide over the difficulties. With a king like Cobra, it is inevitable that it will thrive in the future. Adri said sincerely. I believe that things in your country will be calmed down soon. Thank you, but the recent things have given me a little headache. Cobra said. Obviously, he himself is starting to feel a little uncertain, and he only hopes that this time he can restore some people's hearts. Adri suggests. Actually, there is a younger generation who might be able to help you. Oh, really? End of this chapter. Chapter 92 The Old Man with a Strong Body. Chapter 92 The Old Man with a Strong Body. It's true, my brother is taken care of by you. Ace jumps on Luffy's pirate ship. No, nothing. Everyone is very polite. Everyone was surprised that Luffy had such a polite brother. This kid has no education. You think it's tricky too? No, nothing. Please take care of me. It's a lie. Such a person with common sense is actually Luffy's brother. It's a good man to think so much about his younger brother. Brother or something is really good. The sea is incredible. How about it, Ace? My friends are all interesting, aren't they? Luffy ignored his partner's words. Ace got on the boat, suddenly remembered something, and rummaged in his backpack. By the way, Luffy, this is for you. Ace took out a phone bug from his backpack and handed it to Luffy. Luffy, this is Grandpa Adri's phone bug. Oh. Luffy took it stupidly. Grandfather. Everyone was surprised. Luffy's grandfather? Nami exclaimed, looking at the phone bug in Luffy's hand. Ace waved his hand and no, he is a friend of our old man. I have to say that Grandpa Adri hasn't changed at all. Ace recalled. Luffy tilted his head, still the same as before? Wow, that's not super awesome. I think so too. His old man's body is still so tough, and his face hasn't changed at all from 10 years ago. At this moment, Chopper became curious instead. Is it the same as Dr. Doriel? Everyone imagined an old man with a strong body in their minds, and clapped their hands to show their understanding. Apparently Ace didn't know what they were thinking. Luffy also recalled Adri's appearance. Oh. Look at the phone bug in your hand. Hey, Luffy, do you want to talk to the old man? Ace asked. Forget it for now, because there is a boat coming. No, it's the ship of the billionaires of Baroque Workshop. Give it to me. Ace jumped down and stood firmly on his boat. The other side. Somewhere dark building the land of sand, Alabasta. Crocodile lit his cigar and took a deep breath. Crocodile opened the curtains with golden hooks, and the sunlight briefly illuminated the indoor environment through the windows. Crocodile looked at the outside environment and murmured, even if the towns built on this desert have experienced thousands of years of history, the desert is still filled with the breath of death. There were 2 footsteps behind him. Crocodile ignored them, but continued talking to himself with a cigarette in his mouth, as if he was speaking to the visitor. This country has been shadowed by death since its birth. The footsteps behind him stopped. The visitors are Mississippi All Sunday and Mr. Candy. Mississippi All Sunday reports. Just received the news. The ships of the hundreds of millions of elders sent to Narahara were all destroyed by unknown persons. Mr. Candy stood next to Mississippi All Sunday without saying a word. Right now, I'm confirming the facts. Crocodile took a puff of smoke. The replacements for billions of elders are sometimes as many as there are. But it's like a drop of water falling into the desert. It has no impact on my plan. However, someone dared to fight against me. Crocodile narrowed his eyes, and said in a harsh tone. Just crush him for me. Learn. Mississippi All Sunday went on to add, I've sent Rabrunner to make contact. Crocodile said in a deep voice. Thanks for your hard work. Mississippi All Sunday didn't speak, but thought for a while, and said. Someone wants to see you. Crocodile turned around. Living room. Crocodile looked at the man who was humbly standing in front of the man who was the president of the Alabasta branch of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, who he personally went to win over not long ago. Because of the particularity of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Crocodile personally went to invite them to discuss important matters, but was ruthlessly rejected by the other party, obviously so arrogant last time. I saw the branch president respectfully introduced. It's just the former president of our Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Adri. Why, is this the person in charge? Crocodile's tone was bad and he clenched the cigar in his mouth. He was sitting opposite Adri, and Adri's calm appearance made him very unhappy. Just a brat. Out of initial superficial impressions, Crocodile sneered. Adri was not angry, but gently blew on the tea, signaling the branch leader behind him to leave. At this moment, there were only the 2 of them left in the room. Crocodile started to be ruthless again. Why, don't be afraid that I will crush you to death, you ant, brat. Crocodile smiled. I really don't know if I should appreciate you. Seeing that Adri did not move, Crocodile thought that the other party was afraid. What? You ignored me before, but now you come to me. The sitting posture of the crocodile became more and more arrogant. Adri took a sip of tea and said lightly, I'm not afraid of a lost dog who was scared by Whitebeard. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the room was wrong, and Crocodile's face was gloomy. Who allowed you to say that? Brat! Crocodile was furious, and he reached out with his right hand to grab Adri's collar. But at that moment, Adri's domineering look suddenly covered the entire room. Crocodile was suddenly affected, sat on the sofa, and asked with a bad expression, "Who the hell are you?" "Brat." Adri raised his legs up. "Me? Little devil? Who allowed you to call me that? Do you know that Whitebeard and I are contemporaries, little devil?" Crocodile obviously didn't believe it, but the tyranny of the other party shocked him. Fortunately, the other party quickly retracted it. "Cut, who the hell are you? Don't think I'll believe you." Crocodile stood up again, apparently without a long memory. "Me? Didn't I say it? I'm just the former president of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce." "Humph, restore first. The incumbent is my second son, is there a problem?" Adrian drank tea calmly, in stark contrast to the embarrassed Crocodile. Crocodile gasped heavily, and his body began to elementalize into countless fine sands, attacking Adri violently. "I'll make you pay for this." The fine sands soon surrounded Adri and even engulfed him. Crocodile had a triumphant smile on his face. With his right hand, he intends to strangle the opponent's throat, and then watch the opponent be absorbed by the water and dry up. Even if the opponent has a domineering aura, so what if he is tyrannical in his home field? All of this is nothing, but at this moment, the mutation suddenly rose. Crocodile suddenly felt his elemental body being grabbed. He tried desperately to break free, but to no avail. "What? What's going on?" "Thank you for the reward of 10,086 points from number 400 of 5 elements lack of money. Thank you for the 129 rewards from the nursery school who came to report." End of this chapter. Chapter 93. Chapter 93. Come to sell miserably. Ask for subscription. Ask for a reward. Ask for a monthly pass. Ask for a recommendation ticket anyway, ask for everything. Be sure to subscribe, give one at least for the first order. Everyone speaks enthusiastically. I'll see how many people there are. If there are too many people, there will be a few more chapters today. 5 chapters capped, 2 chapters started. End of this chapter. Chapter 94. Valpo and Amp, #039, S encounter. Chapter 94. Valpo's encounter. Adri is on the yacht. This is the first time Crow has seen other people beside his lord, and they seem to be cronies. They all wear hats so that their faces cannot be seen, and the grown-ups call them by numbers. Crow felt that, as Adrian's personal chief executive, it was necessary to greet these few a little bit. Crow introduced himself to the three. "I am Lord Adri's personal chief steward, please give me your advice." The three ignored him and looked at Crow like a wooden man. Crow felt humiliated, but he didn't have an attack. Adri said for them. "Crow, they are old people who have been with them for a long time." "Yes, I understand, Lord Adrian." Crow stepped aside consciously. "Because there are more than a few of them in the cabin at the moment." Number 2 still held a half-dead guy in his hand. The fellow was called Walpo, and he was fat and ugly. The hair is dark purple, the mouth is large, and the chin is connected to a cylindrical tin plate. I in the Kingdom of the Drum chapter, he wears plate armor and a white hooded cape made of tin. Adri looked at the information in his hand, and then gave it to Crow. Crow watched the information carefully. Valpo. The former king of the Magnetic Drum Kingdom, nicknamed by Tai, the son of the previous king, who has the ability to swallow fruits, is authoritarian and brutal. After the Magnetic Drum Kingdom was attacked by Blackbeard, he abandoned his citizens and fled to the sea to become a pirate, becoming the White Iron Sea Bandit Captain. After being beaten by Straw Hat Luffy, he lived by picking up garbage. When Crow saw the words Straw Hat Luffy, the corners of his eyes twitched, and the veins on his forehead were exposed, but he recovered immediately. He still knows Straw Hat Luffy is the cub of his own adult friend's family, and he can't move. But he believes that he will not lose if he meets the opponent again. "My lord, I don't know what you mean by catching this guy." Crow approached Walpo, then squatted down to take a closer look. "And breath." Crow nodded to Adri. Adri motioned for number 2 to come over. 2 dragged Walpo over. Walpo still looks very bloated because he ate the villagers' houses. At this moment, Walber has lost consciousness and is in a state of rolling his eyes. "Wake him up." "Yes." As a person with the ability to swallow fruit, the other party would at least not faint due to these wounds, so no. Took a bucket of cold water and poured it straight on the other party. Walpole woke up immediately. Yes, who is it? How dare you bully me? It seems that I still haven't accepted many setbacks. Adri tapped his fingers on the chair, and no one knew what he was thinking. Number 2, drag it out and calm down again. Number 2 nodded and went out. It seems that they followed up for monitoring purposes. Walpole was still in a dazed state, not knowing what to do. He just kept struggling a quick. Let me go. Help. Help. No. Dragged Walpole tightly, and dragged him out, leaving long water stains on the ground. Looking at No. Who went out, Adri also rested his forehead for a while. On Noah's side, No. Ignored Walpole's scolding and tied him up, and finally chose a rope that was strong enough to tie it. Hey, what are you going to do to my uncle? Hey, you're kidding, right? Help me. I yelled. I really want to shout. Brother, big brother. Please let me go. I don't remember offending you. Walpole's eyes gradually became frightened, because No. Had already lifted him up high, and then threw him into the sea with force. As a user with fruit abilities, of course Walpole's whole body becomes weak when he comes into contact with seawater. Help! Gulu gulu, help! Gulu gulu. Walpole was completely unable to resist because of the restraint of the rope. No! Signaled the captain to sail quickly, and the other end of Walpole's rope was held in Noah's hands. With the rapid movement of the yacht, Walpole also experienced the thrill of a trapeze, moving quickly above the sea. Gulu gulu, ah! Guru gulu, ah! Crow, who watched everything silently, said that he was not panicked at all, but felt that it was not miserable enough. If it was him, he would take a more suitable method. But this is just a little bad taste of No. After driving for a while, No. Signaled to stop the boat, and also pulled Walpole up. A set of movements is smooth and flowing. It seems that it is not the first time to do it, it is a veteran. Make sure that Walpole is still conscious, and rest assured that he is still alive. But Walpole almost foamed at the mouth, and the rope on his body still made him unable to break free, but fortunately, his mouth can now spit water, because he drank too much seawater, and the water flowed out from the corner of his mouth unconsciously. Doesn't look very smart. No. Directly dragged Walpole, who hadn't slowed down, and walked directly inside. You should let him take it easy. Crow was talking aside. Walpole nodded with a look of emotion. Number 2 turned around and asked why. I saw Crow said expressionlessly, I see that his head and stomach are full of water. If he accidentally spits the water on the adults, it will really make people sick, and the maid will need to scrub it again. Oh, you're right. Number 2 nodded in agreement. Valpo said, good guy, is it important that I don't have a blanket? Is this still a human word? What the hell is there water in the brain? Believe it or not, I will kick you with my legs. But obviously, Walpole only dared to say in his heart that even if he untied the rope, his short legs would not be able to beat him. Suddenly seeing that the two people who were discussing did not notice him, Walpole had an idea. Fortunately, the other party did not seal his mouth, which means Tunton Big Factory Slimming Walpole. Valpo eats his own body and uses it to change his bone structure, so he becomes thinner and taller when he spits it out after eating himself. After losing weight, Walpole stretched out his arms more quickly. After successfully losing weight, Walpole broke free from the rope, put his hands on his hips and laughed loudly, ah ha ha, I'm out, you guys. Pang. Before Walpole finished speaking, he was beaten to the ground by No. At this moment, Walpole's limbs could not move again. Walpole hurriedly begged for mercy, Big Brother. Big Brother. I was wrong, hey. It hurts. Walpole was quick to persuade, immediately admitted his mistake, and once again obediently let him go. But this time No. Wasn't used to it either. The fist hit Walpole directly, making a deep dent in the plate armor on the opponent's stomach. The pain made Walpole spit out all the water in his stomach, and he lay down on the ground weakly. But Crow on the side had a gloomy face. At first, he thought that these people should be about the same strength as him, at most a little higher, but in fact, he was deceiving himself. He didn't see clearly what number 2 did just now. He mainly focused on quickness, but he didn't see the movements of No clearly, and he didn't even see the afterimage of No clearly. Cold sweat broke out on Crow's forehead, but he remained calm. No looked at the seawater spit out by Valpo with satisfaction. That's good, I wanted to kick again. Crow looked on in horror. Because in his feeling, number 2 hadn't exerted his full strength yet. No just dragged the thin Walpole away. Crow followed. Take a look, end of this chapter. Chapter 95 Adrian and Amp, #039's ability. Chapter 95 Adrian's ability. Number 2 dragged Walpole into the cabin. Adri also put down the teacup in his hand, looked at the thin Walpole and didn't ask anything, but said almost jokingly, "It seems not very honest." Walpole could only grit his teeth, but he couldn't show it too much. Because No and No stood behind Adri, looking at Walpole. Walpole felt a chill in his heart, knelt down very simply, and cried with snot and tears. Then, "Boss, why did you arrest me?" Inner OS. "Catch me, I don't know you guys at all." "Well, my lord, as long as you let me go, I am willing to say anything." Inner OS. "When I go back, I will never end with you." Walpole showed a smile that was uglier than crying while constantly alternating himself. Adri naturally doesn't care about these small details. "Walpole, I'm going to be blunt. I've taken a fancy to your fruit. Now you have 2 choices. 1, choose to die, and I will get the fruit. 2. I choose 2. Walpole made a decisive choice before Adri finished speaking. Anyone with a brain can do this kind of thing. Walpole was exhausted, and all he wanted now was a way out. Instead of being taken to the sea to play surfing like before. Adri ignored Valpo and continued. "Second, work for me and die for me." Watching Walpole frantically nodding for 2. Adri gestured to number 1. No. Stepped forward to pick up Walpole, and then walked to another room. Hey, what is this for? Didn't I say I'm going to work? Let me go. Walpole was inexplicably dragged into another small room. Number 1 threw it in and it was over. Anyway, there are specialized personnel inside. Number 1 clapped his hands and closed the door. Only Walpole's scream of despair was heard. Then immediately fell into calm. After waiting for a few minutes, Number 1 dragged out the unconscious Walpole from the room again. Throw him back. Yes. Then, Number 1 left. Crow wondered why he let him go like that, but he knew that his master would not just let him go after torturing him once. But it also increased Crow's curiosity about that room. Alabasta. Crocodile was scowling. Thinking about what happened before made him feel uncomfortable. It was the same feeling as when he faced Whitebeard, a feeling of powerlessness and disgust. Crocodile knocked heavily on the table in front of him. Hateful. This is no less than the pain Whitebeard gave him back then. In the parlor at that time this picture is still vivid. The deserted crocodile wraps Adri, trying in vain to absorb all the moisture in the opponent's body, so that the opponent's memory will increase. But Adri didn't respond and grabbed Crocodile directly. Seizing Crocodile wasn't what shocked him the most, but Adri didn't use armed colors. As we all know, armed color domineering is one of the 3 categories of domineering. It is domineering that can improve its own defense and attack power, and can capture the flowing body of a person with natural fruit abilities. Crocodile was already surprised by the domineering arrogance of the opponent, but this is the great route after all, not a new world. Crocodile is not sure whether the opponent has the arrogance of the armed color. Obviously, Crocodile didn't know how extensive the Starsea Chamber of Commerce was. Crocodile immediately dodged when he felt the contact. It was also at this moment that he discovered that the other party did not use armament hockey. How did the other party catch him? Crocodile growled inwardly. Also full of puzzlement. Crocodile kept a distance from the opponent, ready to attack at any time. But Adri just looked indifferent, but looked at Crocodile with interest. Adri spread his hands. "Come on, sand Crocodile." Adri's provocative behavior touched Crocodile's nerves very much. "Oomph, desert whip." Crocodile's left arm turned into a sand whip and attacked Adri in front, but another amazing scene happened. The sand whip directly skipped Adri, without touching it at all. In Crocodile's feeling, it's like hitting the air. But the surrounding layout has been destroyed by Crocodile, which should prove that Crocodile's own attack has no problem, and Crocodile also saw the sand whip sweeping Adri's body with his own eyes, all of which cannot be faked. Crocodile could hardly believe his eyes. If it weren't for the fact that the space here is too small, and he is not at home, Crocodile's constant self-comfort, but it didn't take long to catch my breath. Desert prison. Crocodile's right arm turned into sand and rushed towards Adri. But Adrian seemed a little impatient. With the next shot, Crocodile's attack was resolved. This time, the cigar in Crocodile's mouth also dropped. This time I saw it with my own eyes. Adri easily defuses his attack without using weapons. Why? Crocodile pointed at Adri in disbelief. "You, who the hell are you? How did you do it?" Crocodile seemed a little crazy, even a little broken. Adri made a signal to silence. All of a sudden, the surroundings became quiet. Crocodile looked around in surprise. I saw Adri's lips slightly opened. Crocodile only remembered that his eyes became more frightening and terrifying. Afterwards, Adrian smiled with satisfaction, waved his hand, and disappeared into the sand all of a sudden. At this moment, Adrian was sitting alone on the sofa, and there was no one in the room. Adri held the drink in his hand, put it to his mouth, flicked his fingers lightly, a few more ice cubes were added to the drink instantly, and the temperature dropped instantly. Adri took out another cigarette, put it to his mouth, blew it lightly, and lit it. After the cigarette was finished, the remaining cigarette butt was held in his hand. When Adri opened his hand, a beam of light appeared, and the cigarette butt disappeared again. So, what exactly did Adri say to Crocodile at the time? Adri just stated a fact lightly. Sand can't catch sand. At that time, Adri's arm turned into sand at that moment. Crocodile's eyes were full of surprise. Because this ability can only be achieved by eating the rustling fruit. Moreover, at that moment, Crocodile felt deeply that the other party was his own kind. It is not the superior or subordinate of the fruit of oneself. It's a living rustling fruit ability user. Even Crocodile can sense the subtle relationship between them. Crocodile wanted to ask what was going on, but his face had become frightened. But Adri's big wave of his hand will only make him remember that he has been humiliated, and other details, including what he saw and heard, will be blurred. Adri shook the cup in his hand with a creepy smile on his face. Otherwise, guess how Adri managed to blur Crocodile's memory? This chapter is so tiring and a bit rotten. Thanks to the scavenger for the reward of 588 book coins. Thanks to Chiamoercha for the 100-point reward. End of this chapter. Chapter 96. What is your relationship with my precious daughter? Chapter 96. What is your relationship with my precious daughter? I will not be angry with you. Do you know why? Nicole Robin. It was Mississippi. All Sunday standing in front of Crocodile, and it was also Robin. Mr. Candy is also behind. Robin became nervous, and pretended to be calm. That's stupid, we've been working together for 4 years. I knew you would do this. Mr. Candy behind Robin also drew out his gun and pointed it at Crocodile. Crocodile looked at Mr. Candy's posture and smiled contemptuously. Don't think that my usual indulgence is the capital for you to draw a gun at me. Since you have followed me, the end result is death. It seems that our Mississippi all Sunday didn't tell you anything. Crocodile did not forget to provoke at this meeting. But Mr. Candy pointed the gun firmly at Crocodile without saying a word. Courting death. Crocodile moved directly in front of Mr. Candy in an instant. Careful! Robin shouted, but it was still a step too late. Crocodile's golden hook had already left a bloodstain on Mr. Candy's chest, and Mr. Candy, who was relatively weak, immediately fell to the ground. Because there are toxins in crocodile's golden hook, which will penetrate into the victim's body. Crocodile then turned his gaze to Robin. I'll forgive you everything, Nicole Robin, because I didn't trust anyone in the first place. Crocodile was ready to pierce Robin's body with the golden hook. But at this moment, Nicole Robin was unexpectedly calm, which made Crocodile feel wrong. I saw Robin looking at him, no, looking behind him. No, there is only Mr. Candy behind him, there will be no one else, and his knowledge will not go wrong. That's right, this woman is definitely trying to deceive him on purpose, and he will not be fooled. But in fact, Cobra, who was present at the moment, also looked behind him in surprise. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him, a voice that made him haunted by nightmares every night. Shaw Crocodile, long time no see. Crocodile was stunned for a moment. How could this voice appear here? This is impossible. Crocodile turned his head slowly, his face changed drastically, and he immediately changed from panic to surprise. It's you. Your Excellency Adrian. Cobra was shocked because Adri appeared by show. Crocodile also understood at this moment. Standing behind him is the guy who hurt him a second time. Adri, you. How did you appear here? Ha? I'm here because some bastard wants to hurt my dear daughter. Daughter? What? What nonsense? Could it be possible? Even Cobra, who was present at the moment, was surprised, as if he was in urgent need of an explanation. No matter how hard he tried to think of such a thing, the two people in front of him were fighting each other, and it turned out that one of them was the person he had interviewed before, Adrian. Crocodile immediately turned to look at Robin in front of him. Robin didn't deny it, just smiled and shouted a father. What? Are you kidding? So last time? That's right, we set you up. Is it fun? Adri looked at Crocodile calmly. At this moment, Crocodile felt like a clown being teased. Robin was just a little dissatisfied. A father, I can handle it. Just before that, Robin was translating the historical text, only her dream. But she lied that there was only national history on it, and there were no so-called ancient weapons. This also shocked Cobra, because he knew more clearly what was said above, that this lady was defending him, and now the reason can be seen. The other party is the daughter of Lord Adri. Although she can't tell from her appearance, she has a very good character. Adri ignored his little 28 padded jacket and his lovely eldest daughter, but put his hand on Crocodile's shoulder. Crocodile did not act rashly, he stared at Adri, paying attention to his next move. Adri has a kind smile inside, squinting his eyes, and his soft voice that dare not be ignored is shocking. Crocodile, don't touch my daughter, otherwise, I will chase you to the ends of the earth, and then execute you publicly. Adri said very lightly, but every word was very clear, which made people feel chilling. Crocodile knew that the other party was serious, so he could only pretend to be disdainful. Cut, I see. Because Adri's hand is in a place that no one else can see, holding a small knife covered in military color against his abdomen. This place is very fragile, such a close distance, it is difficult to dodge, even at first not found. At this moment, Crocodile felt a burst of coercion again. Cobra wondered how Crocodile was so easy to talk to. With Crocodile's guarantee, Adri slowly took the knife back. Very well, I don't care about anything else. Keep your word. The reason why Crocodile backed down is because there is still a historical text here, and this is the business. Adri then crossed Crocodile and greeted King Cobra. Long time no see, King Cobra. King Cobra froze for a moment. Is it time to say hello? But then he reacted and waved his hand stiffly. Your Excellency Adrian, long time no see. Afterwards, Adri came to Robin's side, whispered a few words in his ear, and then came to Mr. Candy, directly resisted him, and then took a deep look at Crocodile, and disappeared. Suddenly disappeared again. At this moment, King Cobra's face was filled with the word dumb. Humph, it's elusive. It's okay to go. Crocodile complained. Robin took a few steps back, looking for a safe distance. Crocodile brewed his emotions again, looked at Cobra, and resumed his ruthlessness. Humph, it seems that the other party only talked about Robin, so it's been a long time for you to get to where you are today. However, it's finally here, the moment of the end. This land finally belongs to me. But the temple here has already become crumbling due to the bombs outside, many beams and columns have collapsed, and boulders have been thrown down. Robin still remembered Adri's exhortation just now. There's a little guy coming, let Crocodile handle it with him, and I'm just a temporary clone, and I'm going to disappear soon. I'll help you transport this guy on the ground away first. Also, be careful. While Robin was still thinking about the little guy in his father's mouth, Crocodile was laughing out loud. At this moment, a surrounding wall was broken, and a guy broke through the wall. Crocodile's face changed. It was him. Robin muttered. The other side. Me, where am I? The awakened Mr. Candy was a little puzzled. Obviously he was still under the desert hall a moment ago. His head hurt. Sabit. In front of him were 4 men looking down at him condescendingly. The leading man said, "What is the relationship between you and my baby girl?" End of this chapter. Chapter 97. Robin boards the boat. Chapter 97. Robin boards the boat. After Alabasta incident, the Straw Hat Pirates and Vivi went on a farewell voyage. Sauron looked at a row of despondent people speechlessly, and couldn't help raising his eyebrows. I said, "What do you mean by your feeble answer?" "So lonely." Everyone answered in unison, looking pitiful. "Don't make me cry," Sauron yelled. "Since you don't want to be separated from her so much, you just have to bring her here." "Ah, barbarian. It sucks." Green algae head. Meadow stream. Wait a minute, Luffy, the three-sword style is not a bad word. 4 blades. Isn't it still the same if you add a knife? Listen, there is Natto. Usopp swears knowledge to Luffy. Sauron said. I watched slowly, without speaking, turned around and prepared to walk away. Then, the cabin door behind him opened, and a calm female voice came. "It seems to have finally left the island." "Ah," Sauron habitually replied. "Thanks for your hard work." Zoro realized something was wrong with hindsight. Everyone was shocked. It was Mississippi All Sunday from Baroque Studio who opened the door. Namely Nicole Robin. Sauron quickly grabbed his sword and asked, "Is it revenge for the organization?" "I'll be your opponent." Nami covered her head in surprise and shouted, "Why are you here?" Chopper ran around in panic. Usopp was broadcasting with a mournful face. "Enemy attack, enemy attack." Sanji, on the other hand, was fascinated. "It doesn't matter who you are, what a beautiful big sister." The crowd quickly surrounded Robin, but Robin still looked calm. Walking on the deck naturally, using the fruit ability to disarm the Straw Hat Gang. "Don't point that dangerous thing at me. I have said it before." Nami was not at ease, but asked instead, "When did you get on the boat?" "I'm always here," Robin replied. Robin took out the recliner and looked at Luffy instead. "Monchdi, Luffy, you shouldn't have forgotten what you did to me?" Sanji looked at Luffy in disbelief. "Luffy, what did you do to the beautiful sister?" Robin opened the folding chair, sat down, and said flatly, "Let me be your partner." Soon, Robin succeeded in gaining the favor of Luffy and Chopper. Nami sighed, shook her head, and said with a look of seeing through everything, "It's really useless to be played around by her. That guy has been working as the vice president of a criminal company until now. How could that kind of woman be our partner? Even if you can fool those idiots, I won't be fooled. If you dare to act recklessly, I will drive you off the boat." Robin smiled, and replied, "Well, I'll take it to heart." Having said that, Robin produced a small bag. "I'm on my way with some crocodile gems." "I love you to death, big sister." Nami was broken in an instant. Robin then took out another card and put it on the table. "Oh, there is also a membership card for the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce." "Nanny! Big sister, I love you even more." Nami almost hugged Robin. It's just that she immediately realized it's from Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. It's real. That's super rare. Sauron wondered aside. Shanghai Chamber of Commerce? Why is it so familiar? idiot? The Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is the largest chamber of commerce I know in the East China Sea. Sanji complained from the side. Usopp asked, that's useless on the Great Route. Nami's face suddenly became serious. Do you still remember those people with a cloth on their heads at the port when you first arrived in Alabasta? It seems that there is such a thing. I remember those people seem to be very dignified. Nami yelled, those are people from the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. Wei Wei told me that people from the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce are not easy to mess with, because their royal family has connections with them. Hey! The Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is on the Great Route? Aren't they just ordinary chambers of commerce? Nami also pondered. I remember what Wei Wei said. Her father told her that the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce is not a simple chamber of commerce. There will be some large countries on the Great Route, and even the second half of the Great Route is involved. Is it so powerful? Shanghai Chamber of Commerce? I seem to have heard of it. When was it? Luffy was remembering, but Nami ignored it, but continued. It is said that membership cards of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce are hard to come by, and only a few princes and nobles own them. Even, the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce's membership card has become a symbol of status and power, and is sought after by many people. Nami looked at the card in Robin's hand, with a serious face, and asked very seriously. How did you get this card? Robin smiled slightly and took a sip of the tea in his hand, a secret. Since you don't say it, forget it. However, Nami became more and more obsessed with the card. It is said that with this card, all major clubs can enjoy discounts, and there may be deposits in it. Thinking of this, Nami's eyes couldn't help but stare. Oh, I think I remembered. Luffy said unresponsively. But Nami didn't give a chance to speak at all, just a fist. Okay, you don't need to say more, dull. Robin just smiled at this and said nothing. A few days later. On a sunny morning until Luffy hoisted up a conch. Everyone watched, except Robin. I saw an opening in the shell on the conch open. A person suddenly jumped out of the shell, touched his head and said, I thought I was doomed. Who are you? Luffy asked. The man immediately stood up straight and began to introduce himself, full of salesmanship. Excuse me, let me introduce myself. I am Les, a mail-order company under the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, who can be on call and deliver goods to you with just one phone call. Please give me your advice. Under the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce? Of course, we are a branch of the Shanghai Chamber of Commerce. The man who called himself Les said it with pride. Mail order ladybug, what's that? Yes, I am transporting goods on this ship Eska. That's it. It's so convenient. Hearing the word Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, Robin became interested, looked sideways, and stopped paying attention. Then the salesman, Les, began to introduce a lot of products, his mouth moving like a machine gun. Since everyone saved me, I sold it at a loss, only 2 Baileys. Hey, I remember that Robin has the membership card of Shanghai Chamber of Commerce, can I use it? Yes, membership card. Of course. I didn't expect it to be a distinguished guest. Salesman Leslie's immediately rubbed his hands and continued to introduce frantically. Nami knocked Luffy's big head again. Luffy, that's Robin's stuff, not ours. Nami can still figure it out. Luffy. The salesman froze for a moment, his whole expression became wrong, and he was sweating coldly. The bright smile on his face gradually faded. Could it be Monkey D. Luffy? Ah, it's me. Farewell. Immediately, the salesman became nervous, and quickly got back into the conch, and ran away quickly, leaving some products on board alone. On the boat, he made a false alarm, and unexpectedly ran into million pirates, so he was unlucky. End of this chapter. Chapter 98 Doflamingo and Amp, #039, S Daily Life in Dressrosa. Chapter 98 Doflamingo's Daily Life in Dressrosa. Morning in Dressrosa. 7 o'clock. Doflamingo woke up from his 4-meter big bed, got up, got out of bed, opened the curtains, and stretched while looking at the beautiful scenery outside the window. Then I came to the bathroom, took a simple shower, and took a towel from the maid to dry off. Doflamingo changed into his usual clothes, and then put on a pink feather coat, so he started a busy morning. 8 o'clock had breakfast with family members. At the dinner table, Doflamingo habitually picked up today's newspaper and began to read it. Dover, there is big news today. Toribol spoke on the side, using a fork to fork a piece of food into his mouth. Doflamingo nodded, indicating that he understood. He picked up the cup of morning tea and planned to take a sip, but being stopped by the maid on the side, Doflamingo was not angry, because this person was not an ordinary maid, but was brought by Doflamingo from home, and belonged to a confidant. Doflamingo looked at the maid, waiting for her explanation. "Master, you can't drink tea on an empty stomach." Doflamingo put down his teacup helplessly. He knew that the other party was doing it for his own good. This maid arranges Doflamingo's daily life arrangements, and is also equivalent to half a secretary. "Need me to explain the main principles to you?" The maid bowed and asked. Doflamingo shook his head. Everyone in the Don Quixote family has also gotten used to it. Under the careful arrangement of this maid, some medicinal food and eating habits have followed, and the whole body has also improved. However, this maid has a small shortcoming, that is, the principle is that the mouth is eloquent and it is difficult to stop, but as long as it is stopped in time, it is still possible. Doflamingo put down the tea in his hand and took a sip of the special breakfast first. Then take the newspaper from the maid. "It's written in the newspaper." Brother Ming took a look, sneered, and said, "Oh, what a mess, crocodile." Then he threw the newspaper aside and ignored it. "Where's Ladina? Why didn't you come?" Doflamingo scanned the table and saw that one seat was still vacant. "Young master, the young lady is still training, and she said she will eat later." Diamante said that not long ago he was sparring with Ladina. "Really? That child is really, forget it." Everyone could see that Doflamingo was in a bad mood, and there was nothing he could do, because in Doflamingo's opinion, with a father like him, Ladina, as a daughter, didn't need to do that. She just wanted to be a little princess with peace of mind enough. This is also what worries Doflamingo. Under the exaggeration of the family cadres, Ladina admires force very much. Since she was a child, she made a promise to be as strong as her father. D.C. After breakfast, Doflamingo came to his office to process the documents. Let the maid from before do it. It takes more to govern a country than one might imagine. At the suggestion of his own father, Doflamingo exhibited some talents and helped himself with some chores. Doflamingo will let trusted people handle some slightly important things, and some extremely important things will still be delivered to Doflamingo to handle them personally. Brother Ming helped his forehead, feeling a bit tired. He was actually not good at these things. He suddenly understood the resentment that Rosindi felt every day. I really don't know how Adri persisted. They are together. The noon when it was a short lunch break, because each cadre had work to do, they didn't get together to eat. Not even Ladina came to see Doflamingo in the castle. This made Doflamingo, the old father who could only eat on his stomach, feel sour. My daughter has grown up, and she doesn't pester herself like she did when she was a child. This made Doflamingo's heart ache. In the afternoon, Doflamingo finds Ladina. At this time, Ladina was practicing sword with Diamante. Diamante personally came to teach, but it is a pity that Diamante is a fruit-capable person, and he can't teach much in pure swordsmanship. Technically, it wasn't suitable for Ladina either. Ladina can only think about it by herself now, holding a sharp sword and waving it seriously, but she didn't notice Doflamingo's arrival. Doflamingo motioned Diamante to keep quiet, and he was right there watch from the sidelines. 89, 90, 99, 100. Latina finally reached the target, took a breath, put down the sword, rubbed her sore shoulders, and then realized that her father was beside her. Latina wanted to say hello at first, but she remembered something and immediately looked away, pouting and saying nothing. Doflamingo sighed helplessly, and stepped forward. What's wrong, my little princess? Humph. Father has been dealing with official business in the morning, and he doesn't care about others at all. Ladina said stubbornly, still insisting not to look at her father. Doflamingo had no choice but to explain and promise. This is my father's fault, and I won't do it again next time. Letina was a little happier when she heard that. Turning his head, he gave his father a smile. Doflamingo said in his heart, there is no way, he has to be pampered, who is his own son. After a brief coaxing, Letina's confidence doubled, and she had the strength to practice again. Letina. What's the matter, father? Letina picked up the sword again. Doflamingo said bluntly. Girls are not good with swords. Ha? Then I'll switch to gymnastics? Instead of a whip? Letina, I mean you don't have to work so hard, you can enjoy it, kid. Letina's expression became disappointed. Father always said that. Eventually the two parted ways. It was only at night that Doflamingo coaxed Letina well again, at least not for now. It was not easy for Diamante, who was standing aside, to intervene, but in his opinion, the young master's thoughts were not too much, and the young master was for the sake of the young lady. But the original intention of the little lady is for her young master. What a pair of contradictory father and daughter, they are clearly looking out for each other. In the afternoon Doflamingo was reading a book by the windowsill, admiring the scenery from time to time. The wind gently blows the leaves, making beautiful melodies, and the kingdom is filled with happiness and joy because of the existence of toys. Doflamingo takes a panoramic view of everything with satisfaction. 7 p.m. Simple dinner together for the Don Quixote family. Doflamingo is looking down from the castle at the brightly lit towns below. This is the country he rules. 10 points. The vibration rang. It was Doflamingo's cell phone. Doflamingo took out his mobile phone and saw that it was Adri's call. Doflamingo connects. Moses, Adri, what's the matter? Dover, I'll come to your place tomorrow. Adri's voice came from the opposite side, and Adri added. You don't need to come to the port to look for me, I will wander around your kingdom by myself, don't come to pick me up. Understood, what? No need to answer? It's up to you. Are you all right? No, that good night? Good night. Thanks to Chow Mawercha for the reward of 200 points. Thanks to Sheep Dolly for the reward of 100 points. Thank Uchiha Teru for the reward of 588 points. Thank you for the reward of 1500 points from the former captain of the TH team of Goody Eye. End of this chapter. Chapter 99. It seems that someone is lucky. Chapter 99. It seems that someone is lucky. Dressrosa. One is called Land of Love and Passion and Toys. Anyone who visits here will be fascinated by these few things. One is the charming fragrance of many flowers. The second is the aroma of the country's proud cuisine. The third is the tireless hot dance of the girls. The fourth is the most amazing thing for visitors. They are living toys that are fully integrated into the town and coexist naturally with humans. Portacacia. Adri got off the merchant ship and looked at the country. From here you can see the Highland of the King, where his cub lives. I haven't been here for a while, and Adri decided to experience this warm country for himself, and treat it as a vacation for himself. Adri was wearing casual clothes, a jacket with a stand-up collar over his shirt, his black hair was scattered casually, and he wore a black earring on his left ear. Adri didn't pick it up, and he didn't bring anyone with him. Is there anything missing from my son? Of course not, how could my son do such unfilial things? Adri just shuttled among the crowd and toys. Occasionally, news of someone being stabbed is often heard on the road, but this is very common in Dressrosa. Women in Dressrosa are very devoted to love and very jealous. If a man betrays them, they will retaliate and hurt people, and the more beautiful women are, the harder they stab. For example, there is a beautiful dancer dancing cha-cha in front of Adri, and the people around are playing the rhythm for her. The dancer was wearing a long bright red dress and swayed with her dance, and she swayed with her, as well as the other party's beautiful long black hair. Bright red lips dripping with blood. Many men were stopped by her figure and dancing posture, but she never stopped, still dancing her waist passionately. Suddenly, she saw a person she liked in her eyes. He twirled the hem of his skirt and approached him to strike up a conversation. He leaned close to his body and said something amazing. "Kiss me." And the man whom he had a crush on was not surprised at all, but leaned down and kissed him in a mysterious way, but only lightly pecked at the corner of his mouth, without deep taste. The dancer was also a little dissatisfied, but her eyes became more charming, her face moved closer, and she stared straight at the other party, full of aggressiveness. Shanxian put her hand on the other's chest. Why, am I not satisfying you enough? No ma'am, just. The other party looked very polite, and took the dancer's slender hand and moved away from his chest. The dancer was not annoyed, but smiled amusedly, and simply buried her head in the opponent's arms. Many people around who fell in love with the dancer cast envious and jealous eyes on the people embraced by the dancer. The woman smiled slightly at just what? She raised her head and lifted the other's chin with her fingers, looking very coquettish, but it was obvious that the other party didn't respond, just grabbed the woman's restless fingers again, and leaned forward and whispered. Sorry, miss, I have something to do. The other party whispered, cut, or she took out a name tag from a certain v-neck of hers, left a red mark on the name card and stuffed it into the other party's pocket, and left before the other party could respond up. I'll wait for your call. The dancer smiled playfully and then disappeared. Adri was left alone in a mess. Adri is the lucky one who was spotted by the dancing girl. Adri took out a business card with lipstick in his pocket, with a series of numbers written on it. Adri continued to put the business card back in his pocket. At this time, a woman in the dark was nervously hiding in the corner watching all this. Her hands were placed in front of her eyes like spectacles. Surprise and astonishment flashed across her face. Pitch black. This is what she saw. This woman with long brown and black hair, beautiful light brown pupils, a red flower on her head, and a flamenco costume is the second princess of the former kingdom, and she is currently a killer belonging to the Plum Blossom Army. Violet, a person with the ability to stare fruit of violet. Adri turned his head to look in the direction of the opponent, and Violet immediately dodged. Adri ignored this person who dared to peek into his heart, and he was particularly kind to the little mouse. Adri continued to wander throughout the town, enjoying delicious food and viewing the beautiful sea of flowers. Occasionally, I have a good conversation with a few toys, and occasionally I can see one or two goblins running fast. On the way, he also saw a toy soldier with only 1 foot. The other party looked a bit decadent. Adri stepped forward to chat to this toy soldier. What's on your mind? The toy soldier raised his head and looked at the people who cared about him. Yes, I can't find my baby. She hasn't seen her for a long time. When the toy soldier said this, his head lowered unknowingly, and he didn't see Adri's expression at all. Adri took off the glove on his right hand, put his hand on the toy soldier, and comforted him. It will be found. Everything will be all right. Encouraged, the toy soldier suddenly raised his head and cheered up. Yes, I will definitely continue to work hard, thank you. Then the toy soldier hopped away. Adri stayed where he was, smiled, and watched the other party go away, and put on the gloves again. Of course, Adriatic will not continue to pay attention to these things. What he has to do has already been done. When I came to King's Highland, there was no one here, because Doflamingo had already made preparations to avoid any subordinates from rushing into Adri. Although he knew that Adri could solve it, it would be better once and for all. Adri walked into the castle with ease, and came to an open-air swimming pool. Doflamingo is sunbathing by the pool. Noticing Adri's arrival, Doflamingo raised his sunglasses. Father, you are here. Doflamingo yelled again, signaling, Ledina, your grandpa is here. Ledina, Granos, and Baby 5 are playing in the swimming pool. Diamanti is talking with Cianir. Gladius was sitting on the sofa drinking a drink. Tori Pole is enjoying a meal. Everyone heard the sound and quickly got up. Master Adrian. Grandpa, are you here? Ledina shouted happily. At the age of 14, she had long pink hair. For the usual training, she tied her hair into braids. Now because she was playing in the water, she put the braids into braids and wore cute ancient Roman-style swimsuit. Looks very playful. Adri nodded, motioning everyone to continue doing their own thing. So, Adri took off his coat, ordered someone to hang it up, sat down on the sun lounger next to Doflamingo, and began to lie down, teasing his son. It's quite enjoyable. Of course. Doflamingo was not polite. Looking at the harmonious scene in the family and enjoying the family happiness, he felt very comfortable watching it, and felt that his hard work in the past was worthwhile. Why, do you need some more beauties this time? Adri said jokingly. Since Doflamingo had Ledina, he was no longer accompanied by beautiful women. Father, it seems that you are lucky today. End of this chapter. Chapter 100. The child won an amp, #039, T let you down. Chapter 100. The child won't let you down. Father, it looks like you still had an affair today. There was an inconspicuous lipstick color on the corner of Adri's mouth. Adri also reacted, smiled, and wiped it off with a handkerchief. Hurofurfer, it seems that someone is lucky. Doflamingo mocked his father uncontrollably. That's also thanks to the atmosphere of your country, which is indeed a country of love and passion. Really, what? Did you do it yourself? Doflamingo's big reaction caught the attention of the people around him. Doflamingo hurried forward and asked softly, have you taken a fancy to the other party? Which one? Doflamingo knew that Adrian would never. Physical contact is the bottom line. Adri shook his head lightly, looking at the red mark on the handkerchief, lost in thought. It's not me, it's the women on your side who are too enthusiastic. Doflamingo is autistic. He didn't expect that for the first time. He regretted why he wanted to let the country become like this. Very good, forget it, let his father suffer. Adri changed the subject and put away the handkerchief. Dover, how is the situation with the little people? Thinking of this, Doflamingo's expression darkened again. There are a few radicals who are not easy to deal with, as if they have seen through the essence. Really, where is the princess who heals the person with the fruit ability? Don't worry, that's well controlled. That's fine, but I still say that, don't press too much, it will be broken. Understood, there is a degree of tightness, I will do it. How is the cooperation with that little animal going now? Well, the grades are not bad. That's good, that can be said to be your lifeline now. Of course not, of course I won't just bet on one place, but if that is destroyed, it will be difficult for Kaido to explain. It's good that you know, if you need help, just say it. Understood. Doflamingo picked up a book casually, took off his glasses, put it aside, opened the book and covered his face, planning to take a rest. Adri didn't bother, and turned to find his good granddaughter. Ledina had already changed back into her skirts, their swimming and playing was over, they were sitting by the pool, dangling their little feet with Granu and drinking orange juice. When Adri came, Granu saw that he immediately retracted his feet, stood up, ran over with his little feet, tiptoed, stretched out his hands, and said coquettishly, hug. Adri obediently hugged Granu into his arms. The little sugar guy likes to do this every time he comes to sugar. After all, Adri is the only one who was okay to touch her. Granos likes the feeling of being hugged. Ledina on the side felt very angry, pouted her mouth, and put her hands on her hips. Santang, you traitor. They clearly agreed to grow up together, and they were no longer asking for hugs from Grandpa, but they turned their backs immediately. Ledina was sullen, shook her head vigorously, and kept telling herself, I am already 14, already grown up, 16 cubs coming soon. Ledina looked at her father, and found that he was fast asleep. Very good, no expectations, really. Ledina was a little disappointed, but she was a good boy, so she glanced at her face very carefully, and she couldn't see it. Adrian found out about Retina's abnormality, put down the cute sugar, and came to Retina's place. What's the matter, little guy, my most well-behaved and lovely little granddaughter? Grandpa. Ledina looked a little aggrieved. Did your father beat you? Grandpa beat him for you. Hey! Adri, I'm listening. Doflamingo burst out. Looking at her father, Ledina was slightly taken aback, then tilted her head again in oh, Grandpa, it's just that my father doesn't support me, and I don't ask him to help me. Ledina rubbed her fingers and said embarrassingly. Then Grandpa can't help it. Your father is doing it for your own good. In fact, Doflamingo had a lot of secret possessions that he didn't tell Retina, and in her opinion, these things, Ledina doesn't need to be involved, it's also for the good of Ledina. He doesn't want Ledina to be the same as when he was a child. Ledina just needs to be a little angel and doesn't need to know anything. It's good to have his father behind her. Ledina decided to go to the town below to relax. She seldom goes down there often, because her father said that the people below are fools, but she is a royal family above. But Ledina feels that even the royal family needs to be sympathetic to the people occasionally. And, in fact, it's definitely more fun in town. As Grandpa Adri said, you need to relax occasionally, and you can't just think about getting stronger. Letina has already decided that in a few years, she will go to Diamante's arena to try out. Letina walked on the road like this, and many people greeted her along the way, and Letina responded one by one. But none of them knew the identity of Princess Letina, they were just pure enthusiasm. Letina strolled here, dancing to the music on the street, and before she knew it, she came to a sea of flowers full of sunflowers. Letina felt that this place was a bit familiar. She sat on the small slope and admired it carefully. At this moment, not far away, a one-legged toy soldier was also watching the sea of flowers. Suddenly, he saw Letina's pink hair in the sea of flowers. The toy soldier couldn't help but be in a daze for this. He froze in place. Letina kindly stepped forward to my dear toy soldier. What's the matter with you? Is the joint broken? Mr. Toy Soldier? Oh, it's okay, miss, it's just that you really want to equals like a person. May I ask your name? Letina smiled slightly. My name is Letina. That's it. The toy soldier seemed a little disappointed and lowered his head, but he immediately cheered up again. My lord is looking for you. Not far away came a person, some members of the Don Quixote family. They knew Retina themselves, and they were just running errands this time. Princess? The toy soldier looked a little surprised, and looked at Letina in the wrong way. Daughter of Don Quixote Doflamingo. Why did the demon have such an angel's daughter? At this moment, the toy soldier looked at Letina's back and was lost in thought. Are you going to that meeting? The meeting of Shichibukai? Fufufu, of course I'm going. Take Letina with you. Reason. Let her get in touch with the Navy more. You should see her in the Warring States period. Say hello to Crane for me by the way. Doflamingo fell silent and said no more. Adrian, I don't think it's necessary to let Retina get in touch with things she doesn't need. Dover, you have to understand that Letina is your child, who she will be like, you don't know, let it go properly, that child will not let you down. Thank you Sky Blue for your 100-point reward, end of this chapter.